can see it in your eyes. Lonely in the corner, waiting for somebody to come and save you from the cold of night. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye?
Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. We water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I'll back. I'll back. I'll back. 'Cause we're better together. Better as one. 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 Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. Grow a little closer, we're water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I'll back. I'll back. I'll back. Cause we're better together. Better as one. Better together. take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. Whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming.
Hi everyone! In PUBG Mobile version 2.2, we'll officially release a new Battle Royale map, Nusa. Nusa is a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer tropical island. The island is bright and sunny and has beautiful beaches, rolling hills, and dense vegetation. In addition to the natural scenery, it also has many areas that have a unique style and combat characteristics. Without further ado, let's take a closer look now. As a whole, being a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer map, Nusa is the smallest map PUBG Mobile has released to date. It also has the most compact structure among all the Battle Royale maps. We can make some comparisons by looking at the data. Erangel is 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers in size, and 100 players participate in each match. This means there is an average of 1.56 players per square kilometer. In Nusa, an average of 32 players fight in a 1 square kilometer area. Conflicts are intense, and players will start shooting right after landing. In the southern part of the map is a heart-shaped island. 2 paths connect this island with the gorgeous Pink Beach. The Ferris wheel and hot air balloon are both located on Pink Beach, which highlight the romantic atmosphere of the beach. But keep in mind that the terrain of Pink Beach is rather open and has little cover within a certain area. If players want to move around Pink Beach, they can do so with the help of smoke grenades to obscure enemies' vision, or push the beach balls on the beach and use them as moving cover. But if you do so, remember to keep an eye on their durability. In short, Pink Beach is beautiful and romantic, but you must take care if you plan to spend some time there. Bouline Bay is located in the northwest part of the island, and the coast is quite low there. The cliffs on both sides have a large height difference, and players can move between them with a zip line, utilizing the advantages of high ground. Players at the top can observe where enemies are moving in the bay. Meanwhile, players in the bay need to move around covertly. There is also a cavern connected to the sea in the northern part of Bouline Bay. Players can jump there directly. The cavern extends in all directions, and players can explore this area. In addition to the natural scenery, Nusa also has many urban areas, of which the largest is Telepac Town, which is located in the southeastern part of the map. Buildings are scattered everywhere in the urban area, and close-range street fights can break out at any time. There are premium apartment buildings in Telepac Town. These buildings have elevators that can be used, which adds another dynamic to searching, attacking, and defending in the building. For example, players can set up an ambush in the elevator. By getting in and not selecting a floor, they can then give enemies a surprise when they enter to use the elevator. The rooftops of buildings in Telepac Town are also connected by zip lines, which gives players more flexibility in urban battles. If the zip line is destroyed, it can be repaired with a tactical crossbow. I believe Telepac Town will give players a unique 3D alley combat experience. If you like fast-paced battles and enjoy thrilling shootouts right after landing, you can land at the Science Center at the heart of the map. The design of the modern orbital satellite roof feels really high-tech. The Science Center has 3 floors. Each floor is spacious and contains lots of supplies, which attracts many players to loot this area. As you can imagine, very intense battles will break out between these floors. At the top of the Science Center is a rooftop with a multi-layer structure. Players can look far into the distance from here for a great visual advantage. However, they'll also be exposed as there's nowhere to hide. If you want to land directly on the rooftop, you must check if there are enemies nearby to ensure your own safety. In short, if you're confident in your close-range shooting skills, you're welcome to land at the Science Center. Like the Science Center, Flame Village is also located at the center of the map. The terrain is quite low there, and the village is surrounded by mountain slopes. There are many huts in the village, and there are many places where you can stand on the beams of the huts. Players can climb or jump onto the beams to ambush other players. But there's one thing you mustn't forget. A tactical crossbow used with firebolts can set the huts on fire. This will expose the players hiding in them. Of course, firebolts will burn and deal damage to enemies when they are hit. In addition to huts, there are also brick buildings that cannot be set on fire in Flame Village. They occupy a large area, contain plenty of supplies, and are high conflict areas. If you're confident in your shooting skills, you can choose to land at Flame Village or Science Center at the heart of the map. It'll also be convenient for moving to areas along the edge. Other than the previously mentioned areas, this island also has winding and rugged mountain paths, a shipyard where the whistle roars, a regal resort with wide and open terrain, Sunset Street, which is planted with many banana trees, Crystal Bay, which has secret rooms, and more. These are all gorgeous locales that can bring players different gaming experiences. After hearing the above introduction, I'm sure players already understand what makes Nusa so uniquely fun. Lots of supplies for fast looting. The verticality of the terrain increases the strategic depth of battles. And the 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer size makes firefights inevitable. What are you waiting for? Gather your friends and enjoy a rowdy vacation on Nusa. For more details, don't forget to follow the official PUBG mobile community. See you next time!
Hey there, fellow PUBG mobile players! Along with the version 2.2 update, we have made a series of improvements on the game's basic controls. Let's take a look at the improvements. First, improvements to the controls and display. we have increased the display priority of the wheel when the throwing wheel is activated. Now it'll be easier for players to select the items they wish to throw. In this update, a countdown will be displayed whenever the play zone is going to shrink. This way, it will be made more aware of the next play zone, and players can plan their routes more effectively. We've improved the feedback effect of marked items. Whenever you tap and hold to mark an item successfully, the feedback will be more obvious. When the player is aiming down sights, the markings within the scope have been optimized, so the sight is less obscured. When a player jumps, after respawning or deploying an emergency pickup, it's now possible to mark the battleground with light columns. After a team wins, the buttons for MVP likes and summon statue will be combined. Now players can send a like automatically whenever they summon a statue. On the results screen, we have added teammate numbers, so now players can use the number to identify each other and give likes to their favorite teammates. To make spectating more convenient for players, we have tweaked the button size on the spectating screen. This reduces the chance of tapping the button by mistake. I'm sure firearm balancing is a concerning issue for many players. In this update, we have significantly improved the burst shot of both the SKS and Mini 14 by greatly improving their handling. This will increase their stability fired consecutively and increase the damage dealt to enemies. Perhaps these two firearms will become your weapon of choice after the enhancements. For airdrop weapons, we have made some adjustments to the controls and damage dealt to better balance the airdrop weapons. In the new version, there are lots of new features worth checking out. When you acquire a firearm finish of your liking, you'll definitely want to admire it from time to time. In this update, we've added a firearm inspection feature. Players can now use this to admire their favorite firearm. During combat, players can tap the emote to enter first-person perspective to inspect the current active weapon. A friendly reminder, never inspect your firearm during combat, or you might overlook the enemies before you. Do keep in mind that this feature is currently only available for certain firearms, but it will be gradually rolled out to other firearms in later versions. The recommended layout feature is one of the many new features. When players customize the controls, it's now easier to apply a custom layout recommended by the system with one tap. We've also added a trunk system. Players can now make exchanges while riding vehicles. Use this feature to exchange supplies with teammates. But remember, the size of the trunk depends on the vehicle type. The visual presentation of profile cards have been improved. Players can now set their gender on their profile cards. On the results screen, we have streamlined the results process and improved on the layout, as well as the MVP results emote. On the new results screen, assists will be included in the stats. In future matches, you can try cooperating with your teammates. Even if you don't make the final strike, assists will help boost your results. We have added stationary targets to the training grounds. After firing, the damage dealt and bullet trajectory will be displayed. This helps to more closely recreate situations that players may face in matches. To make it easier for players to practice shooting, the most recently used firearms configuration will be applied by default when entering the training grounds the next time. These are the major improvements for the basic experience in version 2.2. If you want to learn more about this update's content, don't forget to follow the official PUBG mobile community. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. See you next time.
What's the challenge? A little bit greater HP for Victor. The boosters up.
Just separation could be the reason why they don't close out this game. Swaying on the top.
I give it, look at my eyes.
There's lying X looking to swing on through on the side.
I got a lot on the line. Fish with a different approach. Want to spend time in the boat.
Close together and grouped up. A good nade might find all they're looking for. Leg C, leg X.
I cannot believe we're almost at the end of our PUBG Mobile Pro League Western Europe Fall 2022 season, and probably the teams as well here as we're getting close to the very end here of our third phase, meaning that we'll be going into our finals really, really soon. I'm Jason Kaplan, I'm your host, joined by Maxman and Claris here to bring you all the action that's happening here today and to break it all down, hopefully, in something that makes sense. Also, this guy here trying to catch up to that guy on the very end when it comes to predictions. But before we can get into that really quickly about Monster Energy, our official energy drink partner here at PMPL, and my question to you, Max, is I know you're thinking of something for the finals. Has your device been ordered? Have you figured out what you're going to do?
It is not, it's still not a device, Jason. I do respect the attempt.
I'm going to make it a device.
But it is ready. The idea is ready, at least. The execution, not there yet, but it'll be ready in time, don't worry.
I don't believe him, Claris.
I don't believe him, but there's so much to take away from what I've just witnessed as we've come on air. Firstly, Max is wearing his epic biker jacket once again. Secondly, Jason is growing a loaf of bread on his head. That's amazing as well. I can't, like, it's
full head of hair, man.
Full head of hair. Jeez Louise.
Just can't see back up here where it might disappear.
Oh, okay.
I did work very hard on this, actually.
Nice.
But thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. And you guys hopefully have been noticing all the posts going on PUBG Mobile, the social media accounts. You can check them all out here below. Maxman's sweet biker jacket. Oh, I think production, you're allowed to cover his jacket. He gets angry.
I have to get up.
I don't like him when he's angry. Check it all out there. I have seen him angry once, and it was not a pretty sight. That hotel room was absolutely clean because he cleans when he gets angry.
Hulk.
Yeah, Hulk does it as well.
I don't remember this part of my history. Okay, fair enough.
Well, you were in a blind rage of anger.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And cleaning products. Let's take a look at our overall, so to get you guys caught up in an idea of what's been going on here these last 2 days here of our third phase. We've had MADBULLS show up extremely well yesterday, but the show was really all about MUERTE here.
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to see in phase 2 the rise of PIONER, being able to actually close off some wins, get some chicken dinners, and I feel like we're seeing something somewhat similar in the third phase, but for MUERTE instead. And as you stated many times, right, Claris, this is a team that's been able to get so many consistent, strong podium finishes on Sanhok. And they're not only strong on Sanhok, they can convert wins on Miramar. They can also do on Erangel. No matter what battleground you throw their way, it seems like they can make something work. And this team has looked very scary in these past 2 days.
Yeah, really nice. I mean, they finished off yesterday with a first, second, first. So can't take anything away from them regarding that. That is a brilliant end to yesterday and just a brilliant day overall. Really kind of toppling the positions that we see in terms of VIRTUS.PRO having a pretty decent day, MADBULLS having a decent day, but still not enough to compete with how MUERTE was able to approach yesterday. So very, very good to see.
Yeah, and MUERTE, I mean, they're setting themselves up extremely well going into the finals. Like the timing of when you want to peak in a tournament is obviously always towards the end, because then you get your best performance at the most crucial time. And I'm just, again, curious to see if they can do it yet again today here. I mean, CIS has really come out the gate swinging. You saw so many of the teams here in our top 5. As we move down the list, as we look towards the Western European teams, TJB in 10th place. I know we talked about them yesterday, as they need to have a decent performance here to even solidify a chance to actually get into the finals, fun enough, which is something, honestly, Max, I never thought we'd be saying about TJB here.
Yeah, it is very weird to think there's a world where potentially they will not be making it into the finals itself. Like, when you're looking at their position overall, like, there's a very big chance that they'll be still able to make it into the finals itself. But if they fall off today, if they have a bad second part of this third phase, like, we could see teams such as TJB not being able to make it, and a few other teams like Take Aim Gaming too. Yeah, I think definitely come in as a big surprise, but we were expecting some big changes, right, with all the new CIS teams coming in, and unfortunately, Western European teams being at the bottom is something we also somewhat speculated.
Yeah, and for phase 3, I think looking at where Unicorns of Love is in 13th place isn't exactly the ideal spot for them just yet as well. If you think about the bonus points that they have gotten themselves from phase 1 and phase 2, it was from phase 1, 14 bonus points, even though we were just still being like, wow, the CS teams are good. And then in phase 2, we saw 18 bonus points coming in for Unicorns of Love moving into the finals, which is a tremendous step up. even from the 14. But where they are right now, they won't be gaining many bonus points whatsoever. So I think that we'll see a bump up from Unicorns of Love in the next 4 days of Phase 3.
Well, speaking of a team that needs a bump up really quickly, Death Machine. You saw them there on the bottom of the leaderboard in 18th place. And I bring them up in particular because in Phase 1, 227 points, 3rd place. Phase 2, 19th place, 70 points. Phase 3, as I said before, 18th place. Like, they are not looking remotely even close to what they were able to put up in that first week. And honestly, I don't expect you guys to have an answer. I don't know why. I don't think maybe they know why, because they were doing so well and then all of a sudden it was such a 180 turn in terms of their performance.
I mean, this is a team that has already some experience when it comes to PMPL. There's some players that played previously in PMPL Arabia, right? Looking at NASA in particular. This is a team that knows what to do right in this first phase. They went in really hot. It was looking really good. But as we have seen throughout the phases, other teams that maybe struggled in the first phase have stepped up. You're looking at your VIRTUS.PROs, you're looking at MADBULLS that are still on top, PIONER stepped up, MUERTE stepped up, and it's not that they've been playing worse, I would say. It's more like teams around them stepped up so much that now they're just behind the competition, and they need to make changes too in this third phase if they want to catch up. So it's been tough, but right now they haven't been able to adapt on time.
Yeah, I've decided, Jason, right now, that since I talked about Unicorns of Love in terms of bonus points, I like talking like that. So we're going to talk about Death Machine in terms of bonus points as well. Because Phase 1, I mean, you talked about the points in terms of what they gained overall, but Phase 1 was 17 bonus points towards the finals. Phase 2, 2 bonus points towards the final. That shows the huge disparity in performances that we saw from them. I feel like in Phase 1, they were decisively taking central positions and holding them down pretty well. In Phase 2, we saw less of that. I need to see more of that here in Phase 3 because I think they're a team that can thrive from center and be able to hold down locations, but it's getting there before the other teams do. That's the most important part. So you need to be quick and on the mark.
All right, well, we're going to be talking, obviously, Death Machine having a downward trend, but we're going to go back talking about some positives here. A team that's had an upward trend. They went from 10th in the first league phase. They went to 4th in Phase 2, and currently in Phase 3, they're sitting in 1st place. It's MUERTE and their stats across all of the individual battlegrounds, because this team has just been ultra consistent, ultra impressive, so damn good, to be completely honest with you, and they just don't seem to really miss the podium.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing, what I stated a little bit earlier, right, is this is a team that can perform on any battleground. You can see Erangel maybe a little bit tougher. No, the stats definitely not as good, but we've already seen they've been able to convert wins to get one of their 2 wins yesterday actually on Erangel. So they definitely improved when it comes to entering on this third phase. But man, you can see that survival time in general for Miramar. Sanhok always getting to the late game, and now this is a team that can close off wins, actually get those chicken dinners. Like, those averages on Miramar when it comes to average placement points are mental. That is such a good average to have. And if they just even stay remotely close to these averages, no doubt in my mind they'll make in the finals and perform in the finals, hopefully.
It's quite an anomaly that a top team is doing not that well on Erangel and finding their points up elsewhere. I mean, if you looked at the average survival time for Sanhok especially, 20 minutes, 40 seconds-ish is a massive average survival time for a Sanhok, because the battleground lasts less time, and you are more prone and scared of the idea of third parties and even fourth parties hitting you towards the very late game, but not necessarily the latest of games. So the fact that they're able to make that a thing on Sanhok is very commendable. They're doing a lot of healing strat, admittedly, but they ripped that away from TJB in terms of drop spot at the beginning of Phase 1, and they haven't let go of it since, and it has paid dividends for them. So I like what we're seeing from MUERTE, especially on Sanhok, but clearly Miramar is also one of their stomping grounds.
And also it had a really good knockoff effect, right, of the way of the heal strat pushing away TJB. Now they can always do the heal strat, but the cool thing is that it's not always going to be their main plan out of the impression. We saw them, I think it was day 1 of this third phase, where they actually took a win against Big. It was not an easy push either, but they're like, we have 4 players, we have a chance to gun for the win, let's not go for the heal strat and actually try and get that win, get those 15 points on the ball. I think that's good. I think it should always be a plan B to go for the heal strat, and it seems like that's how they approach it most of the time, but when they're just not going to get the win, they're like, okay, Dadaev, go for the heal strat, and it works, so you can't argue with the results.
I mean, we've been saying that for over a year's time. I mean, at least in TJB's case, that was their plan. And it seems like MUERTE have just stolen that away, or maybe taking control of it. Can't really say stolen because they're doing it better than TJB. I mean, they're winning the hot drops, so they're allowed to do it. But this team, when it comes to consistency on Sanhok, have been absolutely insane. Let's take a look actually at their last 5 Sanhoks here and see the amount of points they got from each of these, because this is these aren't Sanhok numbers, Kalaris. These aren't even close to Sanhok numbers.
Especially the first place with 30 points, right? That means you're getting yourself 15 eliminations off the back of a Sanhok win, which is massive. Never mind all the other double-digit games that we're seeing from them here. And again, you know, when you see anything other than a first place, it's likely going to be the heal strategy coming out from MUERTE. But even a 23-pointer with a first place is still commendable, considering the nature of Sanhok, the fact that a lot of people are being eliminated by other parties as you are then moving through into the victory position. Yeah. So for MUERTE, really cool to see this consistency on what is generally a very inconsistent battleground.
Yeah, and also when you're looking at MUERTE a lot of the time, we talked about some teams that have only like maybe 1-2 players really being the standout players for the team. Here, it does generally feel like a really massive team effort. Like Striker was top player of one of the days. You saw Flicker, Unicorn, Ingush, Dadaev being a healer for the team also. It seemed like it is a massive team effort for this team, and the team that's so consistent overall in this third phase, I think is a very scary team heading into the finals. So I think this is a team that's improved a lot, and now this could be their new like normal kind of results we can expect from them.
Yeah, I mean, you said they're a scary team, and I completely agree with you. But to be honest, I feel like a scary team is an adjective you can use for basically any CIS team that's come into this event here. And another team that's looked exceptionally scary is VIRTUS.PRO, actually. And we wanted to take a look at like contribution from the players and see who was really stepping up, who was doing the most work for the team. So we'll rewind it all the way back here to phase 2, as we can see Old Boy leading the charge in knocks, limbs, damage, and technically, well, I guess not damage received, even though he did have the most. You're not really leading, you're kind of the worst when damage received for numbers high to everyone else. But we can see there's like a clear discrepancy between him and the rest of his team.
I was a little bit impressed actually to not see Tulika a little bit higher when it comes to this is phase 2, right? If I'm not mistaken, yeah, because Tulika had some really good clutch moments next to Old Boy, but Yankee has really grown on me when it comes to these past 2 phases in particular. So it does seem like there's been some improvements, but when it comes to Old Boy, and especially when he has the walls, Kalaris, he's still able to pop off as we expect.
Yeah, exactly what I've got to echo what you're saying. Yankee has kind of taken that clutch spot from where I thought Tulika was supposed to have it, if you know what I mean. Like, I know that Tulika has had those clutch moments, but definitely Yankee has been very impressive alongside Old Boy.
Well, the thing is, that was only from phase 2. Let's take a look at what it looks like now from phase 3 so far. It's only been 2 days, and we've obviously saw like a massive discrepancy between Old Boy and the rest of his team when it comes to damage. But I think we're curious about, has VIRTUS.PRO transitioned into more of a team effort? Is everyone else able to help support the team up like Old Boy's been able to? And I can tell you from already knowing what's going to be shown here that, yeah, other people have been able to do so. And you are seeing Tulika, as you mentioned before, compared to Yankee. He's actually been able to grow into his own a little bit here.
Yankee, you need to come pump those numbers up, okay? We hyped you up a little bit, but yeah, Tulika, this seems a lot more like I was initially expected. Of course, back into it in a little bit in phase 3, Tulika and Old Boy, the big fragging duo of the team. So this is good to see, but man, the fact that Old Boy is just consistently the top performer of the team, and it's scary too because he left Na'Vi right when he was at the top of his game with PMGC, and being able to replicate this amount of success on this stage after you left like one of the most successful teams in PUBG Mobile esports period is such a success story for him.
The phase 3 for them has been a strange one, like in terms of a story and an outlook, right? I mean, they've had themselves 5 podium finishes in 8 games, which is obviously sick. They've had 2 first places and 3 third places back to back when it came to the half games as we continued on. But nothing's been hugely flashy. Nothing's been like massive elimination numbers here, there, and everywhere. No, it's just been quietly consistent, and pushing themselves up to a 2nd place right now is very strong.
I mean, to be fair, for like the stats we saw in phase 2 for the team, or with Old Boy in particular, they did have a 5th man of the team, and that 5th man was called a Wall, and Old Boy was able to clutch out quite a few times with the help of his teammate, the Wall. So maybe that's why his stats are a little bit higher. I definitely remember seeing a couple of 1v3s out of him. But let's take a look at the matches coming up today. What's everything coming your way as we go into our 3rd day here of phase 3, which means we only have 3 days left after today ends, and we're going to be heading over to our normal double Sanhoks and our double Miramars today, with one Erangel sandwiched in between. Now, for my eyes, are obviously going to be turned towards MUERTE when it comes to Sanhok. I want to see if they can replicate that yet again. But now, like, the weird thing is, right, we've always talked about MUERTE when it comes to Sanhok, but after seeing those stats today on Miramar, I didn't realize they were that good of a team on Miramar as well. So my eyes are already looking towards them on that map in particular.
Yeah, I'm going to be actually paying attention on their Erangel. I'm not sure if they're playing the one Erangel today based on the groups, but if they are, I want to see if they can improve that map in particular. And if so, like they could potentially be also the Avenger level threat of the lobby here. So yeah, I would like to see if they can try and improve on that map in particular. But Miramar and Sanhok, they're in the bag and they're just going to be consistent on that map again.
They will be playing that.
Max, did Max just almost crown an ALT?
They said they almost. I want to see Erangel improvement. Okay, if they do that, yes, I'll have to call them and give them the crown. Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe one of us can become a ALT when it comes to our prediction game today, as we're going to take a look at our quiz for the day. And it's going to be about Beast from Big. Now, this question, it's very difficult, to be honest. Apparently, he can sing in public without feeling embarrassed. I can't do that. I'm very shy in public. I also have a terrible singing voice.
Can you, Max?
No, I just sing in my studio on my own, and no one listens to me. I have a very thick
I've
walls.
heard you singing some Barbie Girls, some Aqua out in public before.
I actually don't like how accurate that is, but I have sung that a few times, yeah.
It's weird, actually. Max sings it non-stop when we're with him. It's strange, but personally...
Hey, his biker jacket, be careful.
That's yeah, true.
Only when it has to come off if you want to sing that, okay? So it's
okay.
Can't do the same, yeah.
Personally, I like walk around supermarkets just singing all the time, so yeah, like if this is true, I can empathize, but yeah.
Okay, so I believe our answers, I chose yes he can, I think.
I chose no.
I don't remember. It's very early here. And what did you guys choose?
I said no because following my exam knowledge, yeah.
Your exam knowledge of, there's been a lot of yeses, so it's got to be no. Let's take a look at the answer here really quickly. I'm hoping I'm right. I kind of went against you guys just to get the point. And it looks like this might be a good day here. Can we actually check in with our overall predictions? You know, Max, we talked about your predictions. You know, Claris, you're not looking too safe anymore.
I feel like the
Maxman's going to catch you.
Aside from your streak that you had last week, I feel like the majority of points you've gained on me are all of these weird questions about people not being able to, I don't know, stand on their heads without turning 360.
Who do you think asked them those questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason's rigged it. I said, no, I'm just...
Okay.
I mean, either I was looking ahead on the map stream or I'm rigging it now by asking the players. Who knows? Let's over to our commentators because they're going to know what's coming up here today. It's going to be our first match of the day. And it's brought to you by John Allen and Blake.
I mean, of course it is. Why would it be brought to you by anybody else? Blank, you're looking mighty fine in the orange. I like that color on you. It's looking good. We're getting ready for the first game of the day.
You know, it would complement my orange beard if I had one. I do continually say this, and no one believes me that I can grow a large orange beard. However, if you were with us from the very start of PUBG Mobile,
I know.
You will have known the transition that I have made from large bearded man to blonded haired man. Obviously, on the desk, there is a man already with a resident great orange beard looking like a Viking in Claris, so I don't really need to take up that mantle. However, here in Miramar, there will be some teams that would like to take up the mantle as the most dominant team here. Obviously, Death Machine, I think Claris was talking about this at the beginning of the day. I think it's a good point to bring up. They were very successful on Miramar, particularly in Phase 1. However, again, it's that odd little engagement they have down towards Mikado that does cause some serious issues. We do have some issues going into this game as well with the amount of players that are dropping in. So, if we do get a restart, don't blame me, I have warned you in advance. Pioneer dropping in with 3, 4 Romanian men with 2, NEXUS also with 3 players. So a little bit awkward, especially for Pioneer. This is a map where, you know, they tend to do quite well, and not having a player here with them and leaving them as 3, that does cause some problems. And with MUERTE and Na'Vi not playing this time around, you know, this could have been a game where they could have really exerted some real force on the lobby.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate, but they can play with 3. We will see what they can leverage. We've seen other teams do really quite well deep on a 3 game, but it is that disadvantage, as you say. Effect still top of the tables for eliminations there, 19. It's that 4 clear of anyone else.
Yeah, he's really pumping up the numbers, and we saw that yesterday. I mean, they did hit some really fat games overall, John, especially over on that Miramar towards the end where we saw MUERTE able to take the win away from them. I think there were like 14 eliminations, and maybe that was bumped up to 15 with the single elimination, then got over towards the guys from MADBULLS. Eastern Circle shift here over towards La Bandita, Minas Generales. Eastern Stars, this is kind of their stomping grounds on this side of the map, just underneath La Bandita Crater. VP equally in a good spot to potentially pick up some points here. And after yesterday having the top spot taken away from them from your boys in MUERTE, maybe they'd like to bring that back up to speed. Again, we have this fight between Arabian champions as well as Death Machine. Happens almost every single time. Death Machine, again, if we're looking at those overall rankings, this is not a fight I think that they should be taking.
No, they should be looking at trying to stay alive. And I mean, if you've watched Miramar this tournament before, you'll know everything that we have to say about this fight. But we don't believe that it's in anyone's best interest for them to keep doing it, and yet they still find themselves in these apartments almost every single time, trying to go for it. With the circle shifting out to the east, the team that wins with however many players they have left will have to head past potentially the Eastern Stars. If Ruthless Esports swing around to the east side of it as well, that could be another stopper. Hang on a minute, there's a double drop over in La Cobreria as well, Blank, on the north side. Without Na'Vi in the lobby, both XTEAM and Shockwave have decided to go up north.
I think we saw Shockwave lose a player. Yep, down to 3 now, and XTEAM picking up the single elimination. Again, just checking back in with those overall rankings, heading into towards the final. Death Machine currently at the bubble, 326. Arabian Champions behind them at 297. So definitely a lead that they could take up. And, you know, this hot drop actually becomes maybe more and more useful as Arabian Champions get closer and closer to Death Machine. They can consistently deny them points here on Miramar. There is a good chance that they might be able to bring themselves up to a position where they can challenge for that 16th place.
Maybe that is what's on the minds, but then you just got to think, why don't you disengage if you're Death Machine? Modi.
Both these teams are pretty confident, honestly, at this point in time. Well, take some shots. And Ultra has to drop down, which does leave Death Machine slightly put out of the way. You only got one player up top high now, as well as Hamodi, in a building where he generally plays, so Arabian Champions should have ideas about this. I mean, both teams, at this point in time, it's those minor mistakes which changes everything for them.
Ooh, a nice burn over onto there. Shockwave disengaged from La Corperia. They're moving east towards Torre Hamada currently, and they will be trying to move over that ground and come in from the northern side of this next circle. 4 Romanian men made it to Impala on the eastward rotation. VIRTUS.PRO still in Puerto Paraíso, yet to move. Thinking of the rotational paths that are going to come in the next 10 minutes or so, probably, I mean, most of it looks fairly open and relatively uncontested. You might see 2 or 3 teams bump into one another, but in general, potentially the west side of Los Leones could be one of the main sticking points for about 4 teams on the south.
For VP, they don't really have to move too much now, John. You know, with this circle, especially with a lot of it being out towards Puerto Paraíso and the water side, this is likely going to recenter towards the west. But when it recenters towards the west, it's more or less towards the east, right? Because it's just moving off the water back onto the island. So VP in a fairly safe spot. They don't really take up too much residence over towards that western side of this circle and risk running into any other teams and perhaps being taken out down to 3 players. And in this situation, you know, this is a map where VP can strike out as that 4-man unit. We're highlighting them over in the pre-show. If you weren't there, we saw how their results in phase 2 really highlighted that Old Boy was doing the fair share of the work there for the team. This time it's a little bit more equalized. Old Boy still leading the pack in terms of the alpha in that team, but honestly, it's fine because the rest of the team are starting to, you know, brush up, sharpen their fangs, and ready to run wild with him.
I'm not sure I enjoy this metaphor, but sure, we'll go with it.
It's the alpha dog, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Seemingly so. I mean, he absolutely is doing, as you say, quite a lot of heavy lifting in that roster and has had great success in that change up. Shockwave, they've made their way all the way over to El Azahar as VIRTUS.PRO move up the north coast towards Impala. The Romanian men who currently are in Impala did drop in with 2, so they are at a disadvantage there, and unlikely that they'll be able to hold it out. Here's a quick replay of the player who got knocked. A cheeky little iron sight SKS versus a Winnie. In the end, it's the DMR that wins it out.
Yeah, getting a punch like that as well with the SKS and the Winnie, it's not going to feel good because you're trying to line up that headshot, right, with the sights on the Winnie as well. Like, close range doesn't really benefit you massively. It would have been a hell of a feat if he was able to find that shot, perhaps hoping that Andy didn't have anything else on board and he could just like send some shots around the wall and re-peek out of cover. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be as Andy just sinks the bullets in. VP now tried to send out just a little bit as they hear players around their vicinity in Team Doom as well as 4 Romanian men, so trying to get some control over towards Impala. I don't think this is a bad idea from VP whatsoever, and coming from that eastern side does mean that you wander up towards the hillsides itself, so you do have eyes on down towards the players underneath you in La Bandita as they cross. So maybe some shots come through from VP, maybe they try and stay covert here and keep things under wrap until late game. On the other hand, QODEX sending rather central here, who've had some great games over on Miramar.
Eastern Stars getting passed over by TJB. On the north side towards Junkyard, swinging in a little bit further east. As Game Lord are moving in on that western side as well. Near Ruthless, but Front out. 3 teams now around Impala. Team Doom, VIRTUS.PRO both made their approach on the south, and actually TJB we're going to move in potentially towards the north.
TJB pretty aggressive a lot of times with their rotations over the recent few days. GK first just turning themselves into fragger mode at the moment. Back on board with this fight in Miramar. I'm glad that we got to see some of the rotations happening because generally not much happens over between this fight, but it's good to check back in with it now and again and show we know exactly what's going on. I'm going to get a quick full screen of the map so we can see the rotations also. So far we're getting a lot of information on board, finding out where these teams are coming from. El Pozo, obviously held by MADBULLS. Now they make their approach down towards the circle. And again, does center up towards that eastern side as we predicted, but it is more over towards that north. So Shockwave can chill around in El Azahar. Eastern Stars fairly happy with their initial Minas Generalis drop has sent them quite central, and this gives them time and availability to pick up some good compounds. A lot of teams didn't really rotate over towards that top side through San Martin. It kind of opens them to shots and gunfire coming through from other teams who might have taken that high ground position on that side. However, there are some teams that were on the north anyway that have to make that rotation. Making it late is not so bad for them in terms of XTEAM, but Shockwave have made their way through El Azahar and will be picking up high ground down towards that south side.
Ricardo won't be in the next zone, so this fight will be forcibly concluded, I'm sure, soon enough. As both teams are linked inexorably, seemingly. At this stage, TJB move early up towards Junkyard with Shockwave on their northeast side. The teams around Minas Generalis seemingly want a northern bit of positioning, but the Eastern Stars laying a little bit lower than QODEX. So you can see they're moving up a little bit further north. Team Doom as well seem to have planted their feet. VIRTUS.PRO moving up on the east side.
Yeah, they kept things relatively quiet there, and it could have gone quite badly for them. But they get past this stumbling block, which was between them, 4 Romanian men, Team Doom. They move through, 4 Romanian men's left behind in Impala, and VP can maybe find their way into a position that better benefits them. Eastern Stars looking towards QODEX. QODEX rotates through. I think Eastern Stars have to be careful with this one. QODEX is a team that loves to take quite wide splits and really wins out a lot of their fights just off the back of some decent angles that are played and distracting maneuvers, which you don't necessarily see too much, where they're great at setting up these crossfires, in which case one player can play up close, maybe bait a couple of peeks, and there's a guy holding in distance that maybe a team doesn't see beforehand. TJB, you mentioned them moving north, and it looks like they have headed up towards Shockwave. They are on the broad side of this ridge, and there are teams behind them, so they want to make a move. They need to make it soon.
On the east coast, Unicorns 11 Pioneer coming into contact with one another at the moment. It's Pioneer who are winning it out. Remember, they dropped in with 3. So they're a little bit down on their luck, and Unicorns get spotted on their scout on that south side. And moving up to the back of Impala with all of those teams in your way, it's going to be really, really tricky. It's really difficult to make that move.
It's such an easy read from MADBULLS as well to just slip past this and then take shots backwards. They already took down one player from Death Machine now. This benefits Arabian Champions, but for how long? Because as they have to move through Picardo, they'll be moving back towards MADBULLS anyway, as it's really the only approach they can take into this circle. Sure, they could dip down towards Los Leones, but there is a much easier path underneath La Bandita. I just wonder if Arabian Champions have that information. They did notice that some shots came through, but now it's like that south side of Graveyard is just blaring alarms at the moment for Arabian Champions. Again, everyone going quite low. Hamodi does take Jamaz. That was the off angle down towards Casino.
Modi suppressing fire through the window. A north shift on the circle. It was all the way up to the top as well. After a previous north shift, that south side is going to be very, very busy. ARB getting shut down here by Death Machine fairly, I would say, comprehensively in this engagement. RB doesn't want to let Wadea go for a heal. In fact, he can't. No meds on board for Wadea, and that's all because they were locked into this engagement. They weren't allowed to loot because they decided instead to sit in a building and do nothing.
You almost want to grab Arabian Champions by the shoulders, right, and just shake them and tell them, come on, guys, this is not the way. This is not the path forward. Being such a short distance behind Death Machine as well, there's much better ways to play out Miramar than this. Even Unicorns of Love are opting to take unconventional rotational paths for them. They don't drop in Torre Armada, they drop down towards that southwest side and instead try and move through Pioneer, who do shut them down quite quickly. But yeah, if Unicorns of Love can have a backup drop from Torre Armada down towards the southwest, I don't think it's too much of an ask for Arabian Champions who drop center to maybe drop somewhere else.
I mean, here's the thing as well. It's not even like you don't have to drop Picardo. Right? Two teams can loot Picardo. It's possible.
It's been done before.
We've seen it.
I know it. Game Lord up towards that northwest side. They do have to contend with 2 teams now, though, and I think that I'm slightly worried for them, particularly as Game Lord has been shut down by XTEAM quite a few times in the past. XTEAM really proving to be that wild card at the moment. Now, Valo and Victor do spot a player from MADBULLS rotating past them in Zerish, and Robs on his lonesome will take down one player from XTEAM as they rotate up towards the top side of the map, just over the north towards El Azahar. And now the rest of Game Lord move back down to support Victor and Narvalo versus the MADBULLS, who are now coming in, but Death Machine will backfill on this one, so MADBULLS have a few things to kind of work out going forward.
I think Game Lord probably have one of the better positions in this small Western, I say small, quite large actually, Western engagement. With the pressure coming in from the west, they won't be the ones bearing the brunt of it. That's the MADBULLS' burden to bear. Pocus down, Salazar. Really can't step close to it at the moment with no cover. Bazzi should spot that. Not entirely sure why he didn't go for the sprays there. Maybe he couldn't step up under the purview of Ulysses. Potentially unwise, but with the smoke cover, you'd imagine that the spray downs can start to come on through, but again, just going to let that go.
I think for Eastern Stars at the moment, because they're on this south side, making too much of ruckus and losing players, potentially having to move far towards the north. They want this fight to go quite succinctly. Pocus, though, does find shots over towards Keme. The rest of the team not able to support as of yet. Immediately, there is a res coming through, but there needs to be support, and support comes quickly from Kapahala.
Salazar taking a lot of damage from across the way, and it's actually Team Doom to get the spray downs as a third party from the other side there. They are in this, Team Doom are in this next circle. They have got a little bit of a lead here. Manu trying to crest that ridge as well, but Pocus goes down to Team Doom as well. Eastern Stars have a Guardian Angel in the circle.
Yeah, this is why Eastern Stars play so slowly, play quietly here, is because they do understand that there's more teams up on high. Now, XTEAM's currently going up against GameLord, and GameLord aren't having an extremely efficient push on towards them. They're in fact losing this fight versus XTEAM. There was a knock that went back their way. Maxman predicting QODEX, a prediction that you can't really complain about. And 2 predictions there from both Kalaris and Jason for the MADBULLS who are on this northwest edge.
I think given that GameLord disengaged from them and went up towards XTEAM, I kind of like that MADBULLS prediction. They were allowed a little bit more freedom to hold out those teams on the west. Death Machine still haven't made it past. GameLord have chosen a fight that they are losing right now, and MADBULLS on this northern side have the pressure to try and push down into QODEX.
I'm confused by that push from GameLord, and again, it really does show some weaknesses from this team, even versus arguably our lowest contender in the lobby. They are losing. When they had the drop on, when they had the bead on them, things just aren't going well. MADBULLS, again, deal with Death Machine. They've had all the information on this engagement for a very, very long time. And Akashi sends in all by himself. Are happy, last alive, but not for long, you'd imagine. Goes in the air, and Zombie takes the shots in the back of the vehicle. Plucked out the air like a clay pigeon. Good stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, that was a last-ditch attempt from the last remaining player of Death Machine as they get eliminated. TJB, though, holding in a fairly important position here. This fight for this compound could decide quite a lot of this eastern circle, and a nade over towards Xiao. Nexus dropped in with 3. They're down to 2 as they did lose Doran, but they're taking this fight with TJB nonetheless. A lot of damage over towards Lin. Zittel and GK first, also in the building. EXO looks like he wants to fight, but the door gets shut. Oh no, that is disastrous for Nexus on the whole. TJB, they might just want to push this one through. GK first sends up the stairs and does the job. That was really not good.
Yeah, locked him in there with his own grenade. Timing on that's got to be good, though. Eastern Stars, Salazar, and Ulysses goes down to Unicorns of Love with Crypto taking those shots. Beg for Mercy outside the play zone. Again, that's a confusing push from GameLord considering where the circle went. Even so, XTEAM is being harried as they move their way through, have to kind of just crawl in zone 4. It really is a case of how far can you get into this zone. With it being such a big map, that short distance it seems for Beg Mercy to actually walk towards the rest of the team or crawl towards the rest of the team, it's a long damn way across. QODEX had a nice split up towards this western side with a fair few high grounds to play around with. Has worked out well for them. They do have 2 players currently in the zone. You imagine they'll keep Moneyken as well as Woodson outside of the circle for the time being, just to keep putting pressure on a lot of these teams. Old Boy is down.
And pretty isolated as well. Not out of it just yet, but the smoke starts to come through. VIRTUS.PRO, they want to mount a rescue mission, and actually Shockwave are potentially disengaging here. Terminus, if he gets spotted there, Shockwave aren't going to be likely to turn around and try and get him back up on this side of the circle with 10 seconds left for it to phase out. Even going for Old Boy here for VIRTUS.PRO, I think might be a little bit of a mistake. Try and just disengage, go in with 3 and see what you can do. MADBULLS on the northwestern side, taking fights and getting knocks as well. And they need to find QODEX as a priority. Did he shot it on? Oh.
I think he shot it on himself.
Shot it on himself.
That is unfortunate. I mean, maybe it was a case of trying to shut the door as the nade goes through, but mistimes it. Damn, that's unfortunate.
Really, really is. Shockwave, they lost Nightmare, so they are on 3. Monkey suppressed on the ridgeline. Put back by Shockwave. Zombie moves through for XTEAM, last player. VIRTUS.PRO getting cut out on the east as TJB turn their attention that way. And the Unicorns are fighting in through Doom. So it's all starting to pop off here, Blank. A lot of straight up fights between teams. Pioneer, TJB vying for the eastern side. Unicorns of Love seemingly winning it out against Team Doom for the time being. As the nades continue to pour through towards TJB's position. They were fortunate against NEXUS to have one of their players nade themselves. But this time around against TJB, might be too much to bear. 3 players for Pioneer. Remember, this is the game that where you said you wanted to see their opportunity seized. in the face of having no Na'Vi, having no one at the top to really contend with in the same way that they usually do.
Sistle's just throwing nades out randomly at this point in time, but it's Eastern Stars who actually crash onto this. They've got 2 players on the overlook and 2 players down towards the south, so taking some split attention. MADBULLS find Mir outside in the blue. Yankee moves through into this as well. The MADBULLS just look like they're starting to crunch through into the circle. Really are big dogs in the lobby with Pioneer set back early on, down to 3 players, and Eastern Stars having oversight into this one. Going to be very difficult for Pioneer to leave. This is on the very bare edge of the circle as well, John.
Lin gets knocked outside in the play zone as TJB do get crunched. This is crawlable. Should be able to get this res onto Lin, but if Eastern Stars don't let up, that side, that fence will give them very little cover here. Eastern Stars with quite a wide controlling split here on the eastern side, but they're going to have to leave it to get to the next circle.
Yeah, and the question is, how long do Kapahala and Bazzi remain? I mean, there is potentially 6 eliminations here in terms of points for them to pick up if they want to stick around in this area. QODEX have a gorgeous spot there towards the circle itself. That's on the western side. GK first tries to get out, but Athis spots QODEX from PNL there. So there's a lot of engagements that Eastern Stars is taking. Some real confidence as well to make it happen.
MADBULLS have started sweeping on the north in the meantime. TJB still going in for the fight with Pioneer. Just Black-White now remains. The burn around the side is just too much. Shout does fall, but TJB still have 3 other players to be getting on with. Unfortunately, though, Kapahala is going to reduce that a further one. As Sittle takes a tumble to the spray from the UMP. GK first into the buggy. There is an answer coming up the hill. Lin is standing his ground here against the Eastern Stars, but they have to go, and they have to go now. The position from GK first is going to be absolutely crucial if they have a chance. Pazzi on a really slow sliver of HP, but it's over the head, and Lin's out. He's down. Oh dear. Goes a little bit too high, has to jump out of the vehicle, and that is going to be TJB falling to Eastern Stars. Keme is down, Bazzi is low, the vehicles are taking punishment.
It's me, Kapahala smells the oil on the underneath side of that axle, but will set aflames to TJB as they try and move their way out of that tricky position. MADBULLS cleared the entirety of the northern side before even thinking about trying to challenge versus QODEX. Oh, unfortunately not able to find those shots. MoneyKen left bare in the smoke. We'll find at least one. Zerish down.
Flushed out as well. MoneyKen, as you say, in the smoke, but Vito is crawling down the hillside, should be flushed out, and it is just MoneyKen left remaining. The nade, the spray is good. Goes in, and Monkey seals the deal. MoneyKen falls, and QODEX eliminated on that northern side with an outpost. Moving on in, the MADBULLS now can start to push into this circle. Eastern Stars on 3, one of their players knocked. Athis gets spotted.
11 eliminations so far for Eastern Stars, 9 for MADBULLS and 7 for Unicorns of Love. So these teams looking for some big money games right now. QODEX weren't able to bear the brunt of the force of MADBULLS there. Skills just has to drop out of that vehicle. I mean, he makes it down the hill, and that's all that matters.
Spraying around the corner, through the door, finds Bazzi, and Kapahala as well.
Excuse
off
me?
against 2 for Eastern Stars. How do you survive at a shack against 2? Yankee somehow pulls it out the bag. The AKM tears Eastern Stars apart.
I mean, the amount of damage per shot on that thing, if you get the headshots at close range, it will just send you low. Effect spots out Icy on his off angle, will go down there. That was a crucial off angle as well coming through from Icy. Now the rest of Unicorns of Love left a little bit confused what to do next, because Icy was their outpost up high. They will have a chance to move towards the circle before MADBULLS though. But as 2 versus 3, Yankee's looking at a good game for himself despite everything that happened.
I mean, he's up to 3 eliminations, adding those 2 to the tally. 3rd place guaranteed. It's a double-digit game no matter what for VIRTUS.PRO. Can they eke it out to a 2nd place? Can Yankee stay alive in the shack that he's held so firmly? Has got no more first aids, unfortunately. I don't know if the players on the outside had more. I don't even know if he's gone out to explore that. Got to think you're just trying to say, Trey, stay, there you go, as safe as possible. The crate in front of Unicorns of Love gives them a potential position.
I think for Unicorns Love, it's almost unfortunate that Yankee is still here because MADBULLS actually control so much more of the zone because of this. Unicorns Love can't quite move up towards the shack themselves, and MADBULLS can continue to exert pressure from the high ground that they found early, constantly position themselves in a winning area, in the position that gives them the most advantage over any other teams in the lobby, which is why they swept that north side so hard. Gonzo just has to immediately send in the first aid kit. There is a nade primed as well for him.
Skills going for the spray, stands up as well, but Crypto doesn't go down just yet. Needs a second go. And the double dip is good for Skills. Not going to be challenged as well from the second player from Unicorns of Love, who's getting naded out right now by Effect. Behind that ridgeline, needed the heals, and they go down. Yankee up into second.
Finds a knock onto MADBULLS as well. That nade should be through the window. You don't think he misses it, and he never does with Effect.
That's going to have the desired effect there for MADBULLS. Taking home the chicken dinner. They swept out on that northern side. They pushed down, and they never let anyone breathe. 27 points on the game. What a way to kick things off for the third day of Phase 3.
They kept it close-knit as well throughout that entire thing. I think Game Lords sending up towards XTEAM was almost a blessing in disguise for MADBULLS because they tore each other apart on that northern edge, in which case it gave more time for MADBULLS to think about what they wanted to do next. And again, it felt like, you know, towards that middle part of the game that they were leaving a lot of those engagements, that they were not placing themselves in the best position. But what a lot of these teams didn't realize is that, you know, they were setting themselves up for this end game. They knew that they were more than happy to take it slow towards that mid game, clear a lot north side, get a lot of the, goodness me, there he is. 397, the longest elimination as well. Goodness me, eagle eyes on this lad, or bull eyes in this case. Does actually get himself up towards that top side, and then the rest of the team can start sweeping down from the north where they have the high ground to advantage. And I think after Icy went for Unicorns of Love, almost over. But again, VP, Yankee versus Eastern Stars, what an incredible turnout for them.
And if he hadn't have made that happen, Eastern Stars would have been on 3 players, right? On that that shack position. Potential to really upset that and challenge the MADBULLS, but it was not to be. Yankee held firm, and for his trouble, MADBULLS were able to nade him out the shack and take the chicken dinner on Miramar.
I think we were all a bit surprised when we saw Yankee clutch that out against Eastern Stars in the shack, or the Gitoon, as we're going to call it. But Max, man, we see our predictions here. Now, to be fair to Max, I will say this. He is trying to pick teams that we're not picking because he realizes he has to close that gap, albeit it's the wrong strategy, but I respect it. 27 points for MADBULLS coming through at the end of that match. Hey, I talked you up a bit. I just got to, you know, keep you in line. I can't talk you up too much. I got to bring you back to earth sometimes.
I don't want of your pity, Jason. But yeah, I mean, you got to try something right eventually. But betting against MADBULLS is maybe not the smartest thing I've done today, okay? I've done a lot of stupid things after I've woken up, but this is probably the worst thing I've done. Yeah, MADBULLS, not an easy entry point too, right? They were taking a 5 with his Death Machine. Maybe it slowed down the rotation a little bit, but when they got that high ground position up north, I would say, Kalaris, it gave them just such a good point of view on everything that was inside the circle. They saw where Unicorns of Love were, they saw where Eastern Stars were, they saw where especially QODEX were, and then they got some good angles when they pushed downhill. It was clean execution, and yeah, MADBULLS, if you give them an opportunity like this, they're going to take it every single day of the week.
Yeah, the high ground that you're alluding to was very strong, but I mean, even going further back than that as well, the reason I think me and Jason pick MADBULLS in this position is because realistically, the north of the circle is wide open for them to start playing. And yes, it's kind of unbeknownst to them that they don't fully have all the information, that they're the only ones up there. But as they're slowly and cautiously moving forwards, and it was cautious because I was concerned at how slow they were moving through that northern side. But again, it's all about information gathering at that point. And as long as they're safe against that, as long as the other teams down south are kind of eliminating each other as time goes on, MADBULLS is going to have a great position to anchor this game.
I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head perfectly, because MADBULLS was playing, I actually wrote this down as well, like the super southwest of the zones. And at some point they make that play, that transition happen over towards the northern side of the circle, and unbeknownst to us, we can see there's basically no one there. Most of the teams are coming from that southern side, so they kind of play the game of numbers here. They make it easy to fight these teams on the north, and then they just have to let the other south teams just eliminate each other.
Yeah, if what MADBULLS do best is reading circles, right? They are definitely aware of how teams play. We saw even in just the first phase and how they react to circles, how quick they were to react to those circles in particular. they just know how teams play, how they think, and they're just like, okay, this is how the circle's going to go. Let's go where there's the least oppression, less teams are going to be present. In this case, as Kalara stated, it was the northern side, and you only have Death Machine. The moment you cleared Death Machine, it's pretty much straightforward to get into the circle from there on out. So yeah, their macro is on point, and their micro from Effect and Zerish is also there. So yeah, the best of both worlds.
I mean, all you have to do is look back to the Sanhok games they play as well, and when we get so many of those middle circles that are kind of southeast of boot camp, they're always entering them in the same way, the same fashion, the same path. They're very kind of set in their ways to a degree, especially if they know something works. There is room to exploit that kind of play if you're very astute about looking at VODs and things like that. But overall, if to be able to exploit, you also need to take them head on in a team fight, which is dangerous against MADBULLS.
Would you guys agree with me in saying this, that MADBULLS are probably the most methodical, macro-oriented team we've seen in PMPL Western Europe?
I would say so. I would say that's the case currently, yeah. I don't think that any other team has like better rotation on a consistent basis, at least. So I would say that's the case, yeah.
Until I've looked at things otherwise, I'm going to say yes.
I thought you were like lagging there because you kept like cutting up. But the MADBULLS, yeah, no, I mean, they've been playing fantastic. We're going to take a look at their player stats here in this last match as well. We should be seeing Effect leading the charge for his team after seeing him 4 times on our match summary. Couldn't get the 5th, though. A little bit disappointed in him. No, I'm just kidding. He played amazing. Played better than ever I could play, as I got my butt kicked by Maxman of all people in a 2v2. But MADBULLS just non-stop have been able to perform almost every day in and every day out. This team, you know, Kalaris, I think you have to say it. I think you have to mention they are the CCT.
They are a CCT. They are a championship caliber team here, looking at how they're playing things out. And again, it is rampant how good Effect is from game to game to game. And also, like, you're able to dish out this much damage, but keep yourself kind of cordoned off from the rest of the lobby to receive only 153 damage and be able to output this. That is extreme ratios.
How does someone do that? I mean, that's insane. I mean, we did obviously see like their kind of crash or their rotation around QODEX, Max, and obviously destroyed your dreams of winning that match. But they're just so efficient and so clean when it comes to these firefights.
Yeah, and what's even more scary, like you're seeing them play like this in PMPL. We already saw 2 of those players. I think it was Effect and Monkey play in a PMPL Championship last year, and that was versus players from Turkey also. So they have already proven themselves that they're currently top of the leaderboards when it comes to PMPL Western Europe. When it comes to the championship, they have proven track record currently with some of the players that they can also perform on a bigger international stage. So if they're making a championship and on this track it is looking like they will, there's a chance they're going to be our PMGC representatives too. So they're going to go the entire way, I think.
Western Europe has honestly been is so stacked this season, I feel like, and I can't wait to see how they do when it comes to the regionals. But that's still a little bit away before we can even get to that. We obviously have to finish this event and, of course, finish this segment. Let's actually take a look at MADBULLS' last 5 matches when it comes to points here. And again, yeah, a couple of slumps here or there, 4 points in one match, 2 points in another match, but they make up for it by far with 20, 27, 27 points.
Absolutely.
That's like 70 odd points, 74 points.
Yeah, your 4- and 2-point games don't matter if you're suddenly getting 20 bombs plus in other games, and this strongly across what is pretty much every battleground. I don't think I can say on MADBULLS' side there's a weak battleground that they play.
They win, and they win with a lot of eliminations behind it. They don't just win just by getting placements. They're doing a fantastic job. We'll see if they can maintain it throughout the day. So we're going to head over to our commentators of John Allen and Blink once again.
We're getting into game number 2. Get my mic just in position. It's got to be perfect, Blank. You know, it's a very delicate process, as I'm sure it is with the macro in MADBULLS' minds. They played off the charts that game.
Yeah, they did. I think the guys on the desk kind of highlighting their prowess when it comes to macro play. I will say one thing is the Miramar is a little bit easier for them coming down from El Pozo. I think it's difficult to kind of make that assumption, like Clara said, without looking back at all the forwards. But I will say for Miramar, it's easy enough for them because El Pozo coming through on that side, you move past Picardo, in which case ARB and Death Machine are basically looking at no one else other than each other. They can move underneath very easily, sweep out their western side, and then all they need to really worry about at that point is towards the east. So I do think that it creates something very, very simple for them on Miramar, and then playing from that point, yeah, the macro is still very strong, but I think it's enabled by an extremely easy early game for them.
South plane path here. We have Na'Vi back in the mix. as well as de MUERTE. So that northern island will be occupied, I'm sure, by Na'Vi. Bigger back up northwest as well. We did see them go on a little bit of a holiday previously, but back to their old tricks. XTEAM with Andy out late. I think that's not dropping with the rest of the team over there. You can see the actually XTEAM over on the northeastern side. Unfortunate for Andy, he's not with the rest, and it's a northern shift, so it would have been good to have the presence up there.
Yeah, it would have been, but unfortunately not with the rest of his team. I assume we're going to see a drown marker soon in the elimination feed, unfortunately. Eastern Stars up towards Hatin, the northwestern island, pretty packed at the moment. Na'Vi sends Matic down towards Pioneer's position. We'll have to be extremely careful. I do worry when I see Matic out in a quite aggressive position, as this guy sometimes does get a little greedy, peaks when he maybe shouldn't, and that does cause him some problems. Nexus, on the other hand, down towards Painan. QODEX finally find the gumption to come back and challenge it.
Oh, okay. We haven't seen this engagement in a little bit. Vito, close, has a level 1 vest and a DBS. I mean, for the time that you have in an engagement versus a DBS, that's probably all you're really going to need. If you can pop those shots, especially onto unarmored opponents.
Haven't talked about the circle too much as of yet, but it is towards that northern side, so no northwest shenanigans. Neither are we going to be having to cross that river down towards that southwest side. Most likely will center up towards Paradise Resort, in which case everyone is worried. MADBULLS, do not let them get too far ahead, lads, because it will happen. Moneyken takes a tickle, but not too much.
So it's a little bit of a love tap there. Going to warden them off, ward them away from this south side. But there's no clear split right now. Both teams have outposts on both sides of the river. No one really is secure in their position. EXO only has that micro-Uzi. I think if he had something like an M4 or an AKM, he would be able to take a couple more shots, especially over towards Moneyken's position. But for now, just the micro-Uzi in hand. Octavian similarly playing on the outskirts here, waiting for one of QODEX to reposition.
For the guys from QODEX, a lot of times this fight has gone sour for them because the pacing has been a little bit off. Now for QODEX, who are looking much stronger as a unit, holding hands, looking good. I do question how fast they're going to take this fight because it has just been stalemates before for both these teams. And I think with QODEX, looking a little bit more lively, a little bit more strong, they can take the fight to Nexus. Redux gets a little bit close and Moneyken will sit out the side. It starts off well for QODEX and early too.
That's that position across the river that's going to go really, really well for them. Shots from Nexus. Going to find Vito though. A little bit of an answer. As Vito looking to get flushed here. Doran probably unwise to step out fully of this building. But QODEX don't really have the time to push on in.
QODEX are making their way across as fast as possible. In the meantime, Mickey gets knocked by Andy. EXO goes down to Woodson though. This is a good refrag. This leaves Nexus with just 2. Octavian will flush out Vito though, so QODEX furious. We'll be looking for the last 2 players from Nexus. A little bit of retribution here. Only 1 elimination so far, so 1 player still down on bended knee and possible to res too.
Holding close. 2 players for Nexus. 3 for QODEX. Octavian falling back. Very, very split for Nexus right now. If QODEX move forwards effectively here against Octavian, they could have a really good shot at splitting, dividing and conquering Nexus away from this Painan position that they've been so comfortable in for so long, Blank. The nade over towards the wall, I think they've realized where he's run away to. PNL, oh, he sees it, and he repositions just in time to not go down to it, but it's a lot of damage sent on in, and Octavian's chances in this fight heavily reduced. Teammate not there, and PNL does the deed with the DBS in Painan to leave Nexus at 1. Hang on a minute, no, they got 1 player back up, so they're 2, Doran and EXO.
Yeah, this is the reservoir position I was talking about before, but QODEX spare no chances with Octavian there. One nade is sent out early, and then the second for the reposition. Either way, it does enough damage that when the push comes through, there's really no challenge, right? And QODEX doesn't lose another player, which gives more time for the guys from NEXUS to respond. In the meantime, Na'Vi's been able to move underneath boot camp, one of the first times they've been able to get into this circle without finding too much competition on that side. Pioneer heads towards that north, so they're not spotted out by that crossroad compound down towards that south side, as Pioneer would usually make that rotate to if we saw a southern circle. So this time Na'Vi might have a better chance in this game. With the current scoring from Na'Vi, I think that in this last day of Phase 3, they would love to see something a little bit better.
It would be nice. It would be nice for them. 5th place right now, overall for Na'Vi, and they are again down against 3 of the teams above them. Only MUERTE out scoring them on 8 games. So they do have a game in hand. They're fairly clear, but as you say, I mean, the more points, the better. We talked about it quite a bit yesterday, about how valuable those bonus points can be, especially if you're a team that's looking to place sort of top 5, top 6, which I think Na'Vi definitely are overall on the bonus points. They're currently in 5th place, and on overalls, just on raw points, they're on 4th place. But MUERTE takes a nade, and this PIONER engagement maybe has gone on now just a little bit too long, and QODEX have the tides turned against them.
Yeah, it's a nasty little nade that's sent through from Doran. Good prediction or a good spot from earlier. We'll take MUERTE down, and now he's just waiting for the cross from one of his teammates. Now that rock is out in the open slightly. TJB looking down towards XTEAM Zombie. On his lonesome here, most likely will be removed as well.
M4 in hand, TJB pushing on in, GK first. Yeah, no messing. Barely a sliver of HP taken away. GK first remove one of the outposts of XTEAM, who played very, very split this game, Blank. They play with, obviously, Andy dropping out super late. Beg for Mercy getting handled by VIRTUS.PRO. So it is just Andy on that southwestern side who did take down a member of Big. Will still have to cross that river and head all the way up to the north. Big swinging out on that north side. This is a rotation that generally you see quite a bit from them going out into the water.
Again, this is what I was talking about. It's so far in the open is that rock that they got MUERTE down in before. So anyone that comes to his assistance is more than likely going to be taken out. Here's Pioneer taking some good shots over towards Take Aim Gaming. That's 2 players laid very, very low. And another shot as well. Does he find all of them?
Oh. That's really quite mean. That's not very friendly at all, Blank. Getting the spray down. Ruining their day, really. Take Aim Gaming on 2. MADBULLS still in Paradise Resort, by the way. 4 players alive. No one really pushed in just yet. Pioneer on that northwestern side could prove to be troublesome. And Na'Vi moving in as well. Might have something to say about MADBULLS' superiority over this position.
For Na'Vi, a lot of times they've been scared or taken down by teams behind them, and Team Doom was a team that was able to move down towards that crossroads compound a few times, and so they are aware of their positioning. Will be something that they'll be watching out for. They move past us, so Na'Vi knows that they're safer to move forward, and I think this more cautious approach from Na'Vi today makes them seem like they are looking for maybe a better finish at the end of our first week of Phase 3. And I'd like to see that caution brought through, because yes, they can be a team just all guns are blazing where it looks terrifying to go up against them. But again, getting to that end game where they can start to take the limiters off, they first have to crawl cautiously towards these circles. Yes, they can sweep, but that starts around Phase 4.
Team Doom taking shots over towards Shockwave on the north, but after having swung around to the east, they have found themselves some sanctuary. This northern coast is quite a large place for Team Big to have landed, and they just chose over towards right at the north side, just to the north of Eastern Stars right now in Cal. That's where they chose to go for their landing, and there are a couple of compounds actually quite close, so Big with 3 will have definitely taken a position over on that north side and should be safe for now. VIRTUS.PRO moving in after handling one of the XTEAM players, one of those outposts. They're going to be moving in towards TJB, who currently hold a fairly strong compound, I'd say, in terms of its location. It's right on that junction of roads on the northeast side of things, a bit further north than Shockwave, who we're looking at right now. And with the circle centering pretty much on them, they're likely to be just a little bit on that northern side of the next circle as well. XTEAM finally gets spotted, taken down.
Yeah, it's last player from that team, Andy. Spotted by NEXUS. Either way, that fight did go much better for QODEX. Maybe it was a little bit early on the cards to start challenging out PIONER for themselves. I think they've raised themselves up to some pretty decent standards. But still, 2 eliminations, and it did look a little bit dicey for NEXUS towards the beginning of that. Either way, I think QODEX can be pretty happy with that approach to that fight. They look more confident. It's felt a lot less like they were waiting for NEXUS to find them playing hide and seek, and more like it was 2 teams brawling over PIONER. Next circle... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, MUERTE still out all the way out in the blue. This is probably the latest we've seen them still all the way at the south side. The next circle pops, though, and keeps some of the coastline in.
Yeah, I think we have seen them pretty late into a lot of these circles. I think it does seem a bit more drastic just purely where the circle is shifting to. This is very much on the northern side. So big happy with this in Cow. They do get to maintain some control and can scout for a little bit longer before they have to make any hasty decisions of where they want to head into the circle. VP on that east will move up, slip past Mong Nai onto the east side of the circle. Now Na'Vi would like to keep pushing forward. Has been a slightly rough rotation for them. Maybe would have liked to head over towards that northwest bridge, but with Eastern Stars and Big in the game, taking that chance, maybe not worth it for Na'Vi. Again, playing more cautiously, I think will benefit Na'Vi in the long run. I think despite all their prowess, all the finesse that they can show us in terms of their gunfighting, a lot of times that can be kind of thrown out the window purely because of some greedy peaks or some scouting that maybe is just a bit too much from Matic losing a player there.
Zoro gets spotted, VIRTUS.PRO finding shots as Big try and leave the coastline and move further south. VP swung out further north and got ahead of the curve. With Mihi already being lost as well, that puts Big down to 2. VIRTUS.PRO being next to you, that's really not the situation you want to be in. VIRTUS.PRO absolutely doing bits right now in this lobby.
I think for VIRTUS.PRO, heading up towards this side of the map as well is never a bad idea for them, because it could have been Eastern Stars who made this rotate, it could have been Na'Vi making this rotate, could have been Big making this rotate. So it's not something that they weren't expecting. I think you can always expect a team to come over towards Cow side. You even see Eastern Stars are close purely just from rotating over that northwest bridge in the first place.
So spots Mur. Has nades. If VP don't spot this, there's potential for them to play a little bit too close to a window and get bombed out of it. Have to wait and see if they can keep themselves safe. 4 Romanian men pushing into Team Doom's position now. This is right on the southeast side of this next circle. Team Doom, they've lost perks around the corner there on the outside. And they're putting nades back out towards the aggression, and that one's going to be good from Frosty. Finds Killer, but it's naded back almost immediately around the corner. Need to be careful. Oh, you didn't check your angles, and Zero shuts it down, leaving just Phantom dead, and the flush goes through onto the 4 Romanian men's player. And on the outside, there's still one more left. Rana on a sliver of HP, brings a teammate back into the fold, or starts to, but closes the door first. A little bit delayed on this res, which means that the power from Team Doom will be a little bit bigger as the spray through the door over onto Killer. Moves on in, but the DBS is there. 2 players back up, and now Zero has to deal with 2. Fades away and stays alive. Smart from Team Doom.
Yeah, Zero has to head out. I mean, it was pretty tricky there. You can see Shockwave also taking shots through. Killer finally will perish. Zero looking to send some nades out towards that position. Pops the nade away because it's taking a little bit too long. Andre actually takes down Rana there himself with a Molotov. And Team Doom have to still be very careful because Shockwave have sightlines onto this. You see the bullets still peppering through the window there.
And they do actually find that final elimination over onto 4 Romanian men. Shockwave play third party to the engagement. The circle still kissing Paradise Resort. So MADBULLS, they're just going to be able to hold out on the north side. They've had to do very little other than just control the teams around them, which we know they are very effective at doing. So it's excellent news for this squad. NEXUS, close by. We saw them lose quite a few players early to that fight with QODEX, and now they're in the foothills near MADBULLS.
Yeah, they have been holding on to this position for quite some time. Not many teams would like to head up towards Paradise Resort. You can see here, it is surrounded by these rocky outcrops, and it is hillsides that you will have to crawl up towards to get in position. So MADBULLS currently just holding out any team on that south side. And I respect that they've held this position for so long, not heading towards the north side of Paradise Resort, understanding that more than likely, teams aren't going to challenge this.
Spray down, Striker. Easy spot, but MUERTE give their position away to MADBULLS, and that is a dangerous thing to do. It's like, we'll be able to get that heal off. It is zone 4, so it won't tick him as hard. But he does need to be snappy about the thing. They have got their outpost a little bit further to their east. Doran still going for NEXUS on the south side. And MUERTE going to try to swing around. Has he started that heal? Does he have the meds?
Potentially. For MUERTE now, they see that it will be MADBULLS holding this now. This is a really, really cool hold from MADBULLS. I think they were 100% expecting MUERTE to make this rotation up this side. Very difficult for them to head on the eastern side of Paradise Resort. And potentially for them, their game plan is to hold underneath Paradise Resort and hopefully get a player up there and then healing. But for MADBULLS, they don't want anything of the sort, and they'll take high ground to try and pick off as many players as possible.
Fleck did go down to the blue zone just then. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, you could see MUERTE, they've got a couple of bandages, a couple of first aids for each of them. It feels like that shouldn't have happened, but either way, they do lose that player. Jason predicting the MADBULLS from Paradise Resort. I think that's very reasonable. Na'Vi from the southwest on Max on that push there, and they potentially could guard out the MADBULLS if the circle shifts away from Paradise.
I think for MUERTE at the moment, they're just hoping to keep tabs on the guys from MADBULLS for a long time. Great spray down from Ruthless Esports, who looked up towards that north side. TJB now going head-to-head versus SHOCKWAVE. This is downhill for SHOCKWAVE, though, so a little bit difficult, but Zitzel finds the spray through the smoke, and now Xiao's going to try and follow this one up with a nade.
Nightmare repositions off the rock that's getting naded out, and they swing down the hill for SHOCKWAVE. Trazen will not be able to get away from this one. Nightmare wants the challenge, does manage to cross to the rock, gets closer with the UMP. Lin at the backstop, and there's a third party coming on through to ruin the day. On the backstab there. Actually, I think it might have just been an off angle coming in for TJB. But either way, it's going to make that life so much harder for Aza, the last player standing for SHOCKWAVE. Hits the deck, waits for the crash, goes out for the spray, up the top of the rock. It's not going to matter. Drops it on down, and TJB stay up with 4 and no knocks as well. They can move fast off this to the circle.
Na'Vi laid low by Woodson, all by himself. From QODEX, that final player, they're able to take shots towards him, but 2 players from Na'Vi go down from a single spray on a lineup. And you can see they're down in the valley. So unlikely that Kitsune is going to be able to get back down there to res them. So Na'Vi go from full 4 down to just the 2 there in almost a blink of an eye.
It's really far from ideal, and Kitsune going down as well. Just Tixi now standing for the Na'Vi squad. Matagameku burning away in the blue zone. Still has some prowess here, and Tixi, you can never count him out, but when you're right next to the full 4 squad of MADBULLS, you've got to wonder what can be done here. What possibly can you find as MUERTE push on in towards the MADBULLS as well. Xeric getting repositioned there, backed off, running ahead of the blue, and Tixi does get spotted. Skills shuts down Na'Vi. Now MADBULLS descending from Paradise Resort, descending from their haven that has been so powerful for them, spotting the players running down behind them, and TJB, who repositioned early blank, get the shift. That fight that they took on the east where they didn't take a knock was crucial.
Now they can try and leverage this, but again, for TJB, they have not been playing up to standards before. And even with the shift on 4, you do wonder whether they can close this game out. It's incredibly open ground in front of them, though. So if they play their cards correctly, this should be a fairly simple chicken dinner to take hold of. But with Eastern Stars and Ruthless Esports, 2 quite good teams in the midst here, with a couple of players still standing. You know, for TJB, this is going to be a real test for them.
MADBULLS, if they can get across the road, there's a chance that they could just look to sweep. It really depends on the timing as well. If the teams on the west look to turn their attention to TJB at the same time, that could be too much pressure for them to bear, but the burn is on towards the Eastern Stars. Ruthless doing work Athis now last standing for the squad. Keme spotted by Manu for the flush. Athis behind the tree. Has got the Groza. And the ghillie suit as well. Swings out wide, sees Manu on the rock. Manu jumps on up, and Athis now needs to move, or he will just go down to the play zone.
Eyes the way for Ruthless. Look, things are looking absolutely fine. Pioneer, Havlik takes shots towards MADBULLS, which will save TJB as they were taking fights up towards TJB themselves. It'll goes down. Now, Ruthless Esports might want to try and pressure this advantage now.
This knock is going to get rezzed really quite quickly, and Ruthless, they have to slow down. Salazar just gets that heal off before the blue zone envelops him, and we'll have to push forwards even further. TJB controls so much ground here. You can see they've put that pressure forwards. They've moved up their line. You said they hadn't been really on form lately, but this is good stuff from TJB. They have got that pressure. The smoke line is there, though, and Ruthless want their attack.
Ulysses sends downwards, swears Xiao short, saw Salazar for just a second. There is a lot of damage coming through from the blue here. Manu is visible too. Xiao, what are you doing? I can't tell if that's X-ray. I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure he saw him. Athis coming in from the backside will eliminate Salazar, which makes life difficult now for the guys of Ruthless Esports. TJB going big mode now.
TJB lose a player, sure, but only 2 to deal with and 3 up on high. Hang on a minute, there's a couple of shots coming through. Pokus puts a good nade behind, but Xiao doesn't take a lot of damage from it. Has a second in the back pocket, and Ruthless are looking to close this one down. Xiao first to face, 3 alive, and the nade goes long yet again. Ulysses up, Pokus around and repositioned. No nades in the back pocket for Xiao. They were pinging him out, but that position is isolated, and the shots from the ground is good. Pokus moving in, 2v2 now, and GK first up to bat. Will be able to knock it for 6, and a second is found with a nice flank from Lin. And TJB take it home, but Yankee is here. Can he play spoiler? TJB are on the wrong side of the rock for it. He lines one up, needs to go for the spray, but no, he's running for the circle instead, Blank.
Actually moving his way in, and TJB don't realize this, actually finds his way into the circle, and he's got 2 HEs to mess around with here as well. Absolutely no first aids though. TJB should spot this. GK first goes directly past him.
Goes the wrong direction, the nade. I don't think it's been loose just yet. Yankee's still not spotted by TJB. They are just sweeping the edges, making sure, but do they know? I feel like they don't.
They've got absolutely no idea, mate. They don't imagine they're coming from the same position as Ruthless Esports. GK first flies out into the blue, and Yankee's playing it super cool right now.
He's only got bandages. 8 seconds till the zone. Oh my goodness me, he must be, okay, yeah, they spotted him. I feel like if he hadn't taken the shots, they just might not have seen him there, though. Dadaev, MUERTE, still going, by the way. Dadaev for MUERTE never dies. They keep it up, but it is the chicken dinner going over to TJB in a pretty hefty points total game. 14 eliminations, 29 points.
Yeah, decent game from TJB. They're given a lot of the circle towards themselves, and again, with so much space available to them and so little a lot of the other teams could have done to get in towards there. There are so many snakes as well for Ruthless Esports to deal with. I think that, you know, Max maybe has to just dip out of the prediction game right now because Na'Vi will be docking his pay for that. Na'Vi getting 2 players knocked by Woodson once again, and I think that they were really trying their best to eliminate as many teams as possible. They took down NEXUS and they assumed that, you know, okay, that means that QODEX must have gone down on the PIONER engagement on that side, in which case we don't have to worry about them so much. So they get in the valley, try and challenge out Pioneer's position, and Woodson comes out of nowhere, literally out of the woodwork, and gets the double knock, in which case they just cannot recuperate from that. I looked like they were going for the push-up towards MADBULLS as well, which would have been a super interesting engagement. Unfortunately, Woodson robs us of that team fight.
Well, MUERTE keep up their impeccable Sanhok record with a 2nd place finish for the heel out for Dadaev, starting all the way down south. That's good news, but it is TJB to have the chicken dinner.
Yeah, TJB getting the zones relatively well in their favor, and then at least capitalizing off the back of that to get themselves a much-needed chicken dinner and a lot of extra points for them to potentially get into the finals, because they are definitely a team, we're on that cusp of potentially not making it through. Gemma, let's take a look at our match rankings here and get an idea of how many points all the teams did get. And the general story of that match really seemed to be, if you're on the south side of that road, you're probably not going to be getting into the zone anytime soon.
It was rough, wasn't it? Unfortunately for a lot of teams, roads on Sanhok can often act like rivers, and trying to get over them, even with smokes, can be super treacherous. For a lot of the teams down towards the bottom, there was almost... As soon as that circle shifts north of that road, oh boy, are they sweating buckets. Very difficult to make that traversal with the teams that... I mean, I think when we were looking at this and trying to predict who we wanted to go with, if a team had been up in this area that we had a lot of faith in, we'd have probably gone with them. However, we didn't have a huge amount of faith in some of these teams, but yeah, it still is one of the teams that are able to take it in this area with TJB locking down the fort.
I mean, we all predicted Pioneer, Na'Vi, MADBULLS. They were all south of that road. The moment it shifted north, they got eliminated in the next minute or two. So it was, as you said, like pretty much a river cross they had to do up against the northern high ground position too. So it's not only a road, it's also a high ground and Eastern Stars. TJB had really good spots to just laser you down if you tried to make that cross happen. So yeah, not easy for them. And there TJB had the circle come their way. Maybe a little bit too big of a split, but they do get the res off of that one, so that's fine. But oh, Pocus, that was a disgusting shot, to be honest, right on the players of VP. But still VP, get himself Yankee going for the hill strat. Podium finish, I mean, the hill strat works, and yeah, the CIS teams are trying to make use of it.
Well, speaking of hill strat, Tadaiv again coming in out to MUERTE. Gets himself second place. I don't even remember how long he was healing off for in the blue, to be perfectly honest with you, but another second place finish. Just consistent big points coming through for this team, and they should be able to maintain a first place.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot about him for some time. I was like, oh yeah, of course he's still alive.
Of course they're still alive. I mean, you said it perfectly, Jason, like a few weeks ago actually, which was there is no longer 1,000 per chicken dinner. So taking a second place via healing strat on Sanhok is even more impactful this season around compared to where you could have potentially banked some money for a full win. So I think why on earth not would you not execute this if you're so consistent with it?
Especially because when you're looking at all the past Sanhok matches, first place team is always different. The only thing that is pretty much always the same, it is MUERTE being on that podium finish every single time. So the fact that they're consistently up there trumps teams that sure might be able to get a win, but then the next game they get like a 6th, 7th, 8th position, right? So the fact that they're always up there are currently the top performers on Sanhok alone. So yeah, it's looking great. And without the $1,000 per chicken dinner, it's even more worthwhile now.
I mean, it's long-term versus short-term, right? Long-term, you're going to get more points than you would other teams. Short-term, you obviously could get more points, but it's still going to be hit or miss sometimes. But TJB, let's focus on them a little bit here. Let's get a little bit of a laser focus on their player stats. Just get an idea, again, who is stepping up. I mean, we saw GK First be pretty much hands down the leader of his team, and it looks like he's able to do it yet again.
Well, I've seen a little bit of Lin and Xiao too, so that's great. I mean, I didn't think we would ever see the day where TJB get a win on Sanhok, so it seemed like things have changed up a little bit. It seems that's good. But yeah, I mean, I believe actually when we're looking at the stats, GK First was looking great. Yeah, I just loaded the stats. When it comes to phase 3, GK First on the road to MVP of this phase is actually second, right behind Effect. He's just above Zerish, and that is not something I really expected. So it seemed like GK First is feeling the groove a little bit more in this third phase. It's late, but before the finals, that's the best way to see some improvements.
Yeah, and for them in this game as well, the main contest that they had coming their way was XTEAM on the kind of like triple compound split that they had at the little cross section of the roads. I think it was east of Tapmock.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, I'm trying my very best here. But I mean, they were able to defeat them quite handedly and pretty swiftly. And once that happens, they have a complete easy path into the rest of those circles. And it's not common you get a kind of a circle finish this far north here on Sanhok. But once you've got that spot to be able to launch yourself into the circles from, easy peasy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy for TJB, getting themselves a much needed chicken dinner. We do have our next match of the day coming up in just a few moments. It's our only Erangel, but before we can get to that, we want to learn. I don't know about you, but you should. I want to learn. Max, do you want to learn?
I want to learn. Teach me.
And I know Clarence is always up for learning. Let's learn a little bit more about Pioneer.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Hot Jukes. I'm here with Izubitsu from PIONER. How you doing, brother?
Fine. You?
Oh, man, I'm excited. Ready for some PMPL action. So I got some questions for you, okay? And I'm going to start off with the first one. And it's really easy. You know, how are you feeling right now before this tournament starts? And, you know, what preparations has your team made?
Oh, our team feeling like awesome. We're working, keep working and was working a lot. and everybody feeling good, everybody ready to play, to win, of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gotta get that dub. Gotta get that dub. Next question I got is, how long has your team been together, and how did your team form?
Oh, it was like maybe more than 3 months, and I don't know. It was like just let's try, let's play. We have slot to have invite to PMPL, so we can make the roster and play. Yeah, so it was like this. Then we got the PIONER, it's organization from Kazakhstan, got supporting from every side, and now we have everything to play, everything to work, coach, analytic, everything.
Getting that support is huge. It's huge. Hopefully we'll see it pay off here in the PMPL. Next question is, what would you say is your team's biggest strength and something that other teams really need to watch out for?
Our team is strong in everything. But I'm not gonna say any secrets in the team. Let's make it more interesting. You're gonna see it in games, of course.
What are your team's, expectation for the upcoming split?
Exactly for me, this split gonna be, I think this split gonna be so interesting to watch and to play to everybody, because it's a lot of CIS teams now in Europe split, and it's gonna be like championship, 2 regions gonna fight, and we're gonna see who is better.
That's right. Just gets more intense every single split here. And the last thing, but not least, is what do you want to say to the fans out there, cheering you on here in this upcoming fall split?
I want to just say, support us, support the PIONER team. You can watch our social media in Instagram, in Telegram, in Discord, everywhere. Just support us, believe in us, watch at us.
Let's go. Thank you, everybody, for watching. That's Isubitsu from PIONER. I'll see you guys here in the action.
Well, there's only one more thing that I want to know about PIONER, and that is how are they going to do in this next game, Black?
Is that it? That's all you want to know?
That's literally the only thing.
I think there's a fair few things that I would personally like to ask that team. However, when I get the chance, I will. However, coming into this next match right now, let's see how it does go down, how the teams do fare. Obviously, we're now just 1 week away from finals and locking in a lot of our teams that will be heading towards that. Our top 16 will be going through there, and we'll detail you very quickly as we head into the match which those teams are most likely going to be, because I think this is a good time to do it as we are now halfway through the day 3 of phase 3, which is always fun to say, by the way. But this is getting a little bit spicy now, and I think we need to start looking ahead towards the finals, which teams are going to be getting the most bonus points coming to this one. Obviously, we are now on Erangel once again, checking it out on our staple zone inside the tournament.
For our one Erangel of the day.
Singular.
Just the one Erangel, actually. From Novo up to Severny, flanked by the choppers, as always. They're going to take our plane path. TJB not playing in this game, so coming off the back of their chicken dinner, they're not going to be able to try and springboard that in this game. VP Team Doom Shockwave also not playing.
Unfortunate Team Doom's not playing here, but I do want to talk about them regardless, because 17th place has now been taken away by Team Doom. Arabian Champions drop underneath them by 5 points there. 302 points currently for Team Doom, behind Death Machine with 328. So there is a real chance now for Team Doom to actually pick up that position of 16th place and take over Death Machine, and they may not be going into the finals. And I think when you do see Death Machine drop down to 17th place, if Team Doom can keep up this kind of pace, that's when maybe that Picardo drop becomes a little less appealing, right, John?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it must be a little bit of a jolt. Or I hope it is. Maybe the jolt that they need. See how ARB are able to fare in this game. Can they make up those points against Death Machine? It's still quite the gap, and there's really not that much time. Hard Northern Circle comes through.
Very much towards that north side at the moment, towards Stalber, Game Lord. MADBULLS actually challenging for Yasnaya here, John. Decide not to drop in Primorsk, and in fact, think to themselves, you know what, Yasnaya seems like a decent position to head to. Game Lord pick up their vehicles as per usual down towards that south side. In the meantime, MADBULLS are just directly on position in Yasnaya, and will be able to get some priority spots as the rest of Game Lord start to rotate in. They see that it's not really necessary for them to grab these vehicles. As the circle's kind of close, they can figure out that maybe later on. However, Skills is left behind, so it will be only 3 players in Yasnaya at the moment versus Game Lord, and this will be striking a real blow towards Game Lord if they go down towards MADBULLS.
Would be far from ideal, absolutely. Game Lord right now in the overalls fairly safe. It's unlikely that they will get bumped. I was looking at what we're sort of imagining the cutoff to be. I haven't actually fully run the numbers, but we're still probably looking around that sort of mid 300 level, probably not exceeding 400 over these next 3 days and the rest of the games today as well. So teams are going to have to start looking there for that sort of position. But Game Lord 466, so they're fairly clear right now. It's just a question of getting those bonus points as solidified as possible.
Obviously, with their PMGC points being very, very far ahead of anyone else at the moment, they're most likely going towards that PMGC. We still have finals, though, so there is more time. Perhaps a team underneath them to rack up a huge amount of points into that one. Finals, though, look at the prize pool. That's something we can look at now. 10 grand for first place, 6.5 for second, drops down to 4.5 for third place. So these teams would love that big Wonga at the top there with 10 grand.
And not only that, the invites to the regionals, right, as it goes on. That's kind of almost more important, especially for teams that aren't Game Lord in terms of qualifying for PMGC.
Yeah, you want to get that top 8. You want to head across, right? You want to be given that chance to show what you've got towards those big moments over in the regionals where you know some of the best teams will be clashing from these regions. Nothing really happening as of yet for MADBULLS. Very comfortable to share Yasnaya with it being such a large city, with the amount of buildings as well on like a fairly standard line across these roads. It's quite difficult to actually come in contact with another player unless you get extremely close. See Kashi there, maybe aware of another team. You can see him actually crouching, so I would imagine that he is careful at the moment. Understands that MADBULLS might be in the vicinity. Might not know it's MADBULLS, but we'll certainly know there is another team here.
I didn't realize, Blank, but you can share settlements? Someone tell Picardo.
Oh, I'm not sure it's Picardo that needs telling, mate, honestly.
That's fair, actually. Picardo's like, you could both come, but they're like, no! ARB, they're mortal enemies. We must fight them. We are Death Machine.
It's not their chant.
To be fair, now that it isn't ARB challenging for Death Machine's spot primarily, right? You've got another team, Team Doom, coming in. It's also a bad idea for Death Machine to keep doing it as well. It was less of a bad idea for them to stick to it than it was for ARB, but now there's another team that if they keep just going down in a third of the games, because a third of these games are Miramar, then you're going to allow Team Doom a massive set of opportunities to come through and just sweep up a bunch of points and try and make up that 26-point gap.
I think for Team Doom, you know, it's not always been bad news bears for them. They have been slowly improving as the tournament's gone on, albeit very slowly. 18th place phase 1, 16th place phase 2, and now sat at 11th place in phase 3 at 72 points. Towards the top of the rankings, so MUERTE and VIRTUS.PRO both tied on points at a total of 123, with MUERTE lacking 1 game behind VIRTUS.PRO. But interestingly enough, even with the amount of times that MUERTE does go for these heals offs, you do see that actually they can be a very aggressive team that is able to take these team fights very often, with 46 elimination points compared to VIRTUS.PRO's 35. VIRTUS.PRO is only tied because of their 88 placement points there and their 2 chicken dinners. So they're quite a consistent team when it comes to placing. I would say that's coming off the back of Yankee today with his double second places. Well, I think it was a 3rd place on Sanhok and a 2nd place over on Miramar. Either way, some good stuff from Yankee to get far into the game, and that has shot them towards that top side. MADBULLS did lose their position on the top spot, but only behind by 3 points, which can be quite easily made up here if they do strike out from Yaz.
MUERTE getting in the vehicles, just chopping and changing and making sure everyone's set to go. Preparing for the road trip. Everyone gone to the loot. Everyone got your snacks? Good. Let's all mount up. Let's go north. Eastern Star's pretty close by, though, so maybe a guard out there. Death Machine. They're chilling, actually, kind of. They're kind of chilling right now. Just out to the east of Rosso.
They're not have to do too much at the moment. Honestly, they have good sight lines. MADBULLS sent far, far away across the Yaz bridge early on. They got looted and they want to find a spot where they can maybe gatekeep some of these teams coming over this bridge. They're prepared for this, and Game Lord being on the backstop there towards that eastern side does mean if we shift out towards that west, towards maybe Severny, MADBULLS are in a really good position to start taking shots at any teams that wants to cross the bridge. And again, they're still striking out in terms of position, looking for more teams that might become a problem later on. Very, very astute, very fast in terms of that gathering of information. I think it's a team that's quite restless sometimes as well, and it does work in their favor because each player is individually skilled in their own right, so they can take their singular one-to-ones, but it just gives them so much more priority in terms of space in these circles.
I mean, they are, as the desk was saying, one of the strongest macro-focused teams in this tournament. And they've undeniably had an impact. Not only that, they've been consistent. Blank. I mean, phase 2, sure, they placed, what, 5th, I think, in phase 2 games. They placed 6th, sorry, in phase 2. But other than that, they absolutely have always been in the conversation. They're still top of the overalls. To be able to do that over 60 games, Blank. We've seen MADBULLS play now 60 matches in this tournament. To be so consistently in that conversation for such a length of time, it shows you it's not just fluke, it's not just a cheesy little strategy that they're sort of employing. They are good. They are making it work.
Circle further up towards that north side, so
wow.
A lot of teams down towards the south will have to start making their move up. Most likely will end on the north side of the river. I don't want to call anything too yet because we could have a cheeky little shift down towards that southeast, and immediately MADBULLS reconsider that decision to hold on the bridge side. They don't need to gatekeep anymore. It's better off for them to take a priority position up on high. You can see them moving up towards Severny now. XTEAM close behind them though, and have I will keep saying this, I'm not sure how to really place XTEAM at the moment because they do become this kind of like bee sting. Yeah, sure, they do a lot of damage to you, but they tend to go down shortly after that bee sting is injected. I think that if XTEAM could maybe just try and hold off a little bit longer, live out, find a good position and not take these fights too early, you could even see XTEAM further up the rankings.
They are currently the 20th place team from both phase 1 and phase 2, and by proxy over on the general overall rankings across all phases. But right now they're sat 5 points ahead of ARB champions, 19th place for XTEAM. It would be good to see them close out one phase not in the bottom spot. And if they can get a couple more beasting games, then maybe they can leave the ARB team in the dust in that bottom spot.
I mean, they're not horrible, right, as players. And I don't think anyone in this lobby, I would say, is a bad team, just completely outright. I think for XTEAM, it's just a case of they don't really know when to pick their moments. Sometimes they'll take these fights early on, they won't go well for them, they'll lose a couple of players, and then from there, it's kind of dusted. And I don't think they're able to play that similar game style that we see from Effect and Skills, maybe, or even Zerish, Tixi, and Matic, where, you know, they really do put a dampener. They put a break on the games here. Pioneer takes down Zombie. Now, this is a case where I want to see XTEAM reevaluate the situation, figure out what they want to do next. Do they stick around here? Do they try and take this fight with Pioneer? I think that if they just hold strong, hang around in this position, maybe make a rotate over towards that eastern side where we see another eastern shift, XTEAM could get a good game, but I'm not banking on it. I think that they will make an aggressive push that will go poorly, and I do think that it's sometimes their timing which really comes back to bite them.
It comes back so often, which is unfortunate in their case. Na'Vi far on the northern side. ARB looking to clamber a couple of those points up the ladder. See if they can do that this game. Game Lord taking a casualty. All the way up on the northern side. Akashi down on the outside. Nade out the window for Robs to try and keep them going, but Akashi does get flushed. MUERTE. Striker taking a bit of damage from the nade there. MUERTE tied for first place at the start of this game, but they did have that game in hand, so they have got the extra benefit of that. Striker, again, putting some damage through the window. Door closed and reopened. You don't want to be fiddling around with those doors with the nades. I know how that one has gone previously. Neither team pushing in, but the circle shifts right up to the north, including Severny.
Yeah, that's a grim shift. I think this is zone... If this is zone 4, that really shouldn't be happening. Getting it all the way in the water, splitting the circle in two like that with 50% position remaining. Na'Vi's got a central spot and really doesn't have to do too much more other than strike out towards enemy teams that are surrounding them, maybe poking and prodding at them to ensure that they can't get too close. For Game Lord, we'll talk about this rotation after it does conclude, should they win or lose. Either way, I think there's been a mistake made.
Striker close by, and actually another knock goes over towards Flick. Traded off over towards Game Lord. MUERTE have the advantage in terms of numbers still. But unfortunately, Game Lord have the inside track, and over onto English. You are going to lose another player there. Game Lord leaving just Narvalo alive. And they know exactly where he is as well, as he goes for the flush on English. Dadev now moving over that way. They did get the res. So 3 players standing for MUERTE in the engagement versus 1 from Game Lord. They know Narvalo's behind the shack now. They know he's at the back wall. They know this angle, and it should be a matter of time before he goes down. Striker lands the final blow.
4 eliminations there, and they will quickly try and pick up as many medication as they can. 3 first aid kits there for Fly. Actually starts dropping immediately and thinks better of it with only the 3 in pocket. Take Aim Gaming, this is a really strong position, one that's hard to get teams out of. I remember playing this in my own game, so you have high ground against it, but regardless, you know, these teams are so safe and can take a lot of different cheeky angles from behind the wall, inside the buildings. It's hard to keep track of them here. And Nexus tried to send towards the beach side. That is really just a living position, right? Again, we'll talk about that rotation from Game Lord, because I think it's a rotation made in fear as opposed to a rotation that's made decisively. You know, MADBULLS on their western side, they head towards that bridge and they're worried about making that crossing over. But why would MADBULLS, a team that is so consistently strong, ever think to themselves, this is a position that we'll play, this is a position we'll hold? They'll always try and take center. They're looking for the wins time and time again because they're a team that has it in them to make it happen. So I think Game Lord could have also made the bridge crossing and maybe played on the edge, taking that Stalber exit. Some other teams that don't have that kind of position, are playing down towards the south, they're more than likely to hit that one up, and it would have been a free crossing on the western bridge should they have made that decision earlier on, and it's one that they most likely would have made if they never saw MADBULLS.
And I mean, to be fair, they might not have even known that it was the MADBULLS. This is a massive diversion from normalcy. for the MADBULLS, right? Dropping not towards Primorsk. Again, obviously the plane path wasn't there, but it's, you know, it is a difficult read, I think, to know that it's MADBULLS on that plane path, on that drop. So maybe they weren't aware of that. Maybe they thought it was in a team that was more likely to try and camp out that bridge, so they moved away. I mean, either way, it was a very passive play.
Yeah, either way, what happens, if you any team that takes that bridge crossing, you see a northern shift like that, you are always going to move up. So I do question that approach from GameLord. And again, it's just a massive change for them over a single little factor being changed in the game, which is seeing a team off to their western side. I think if it was any other day of the week in Season 1, or not Season 1, but our previous spring split, you would have seen GameLord take that fight 9 times out of 10.
Maxman sticking to the Na'Vi prediction. Pioneer for Jason, MADBULLS for Colaris. Pioneer in the north side of Severny right now. Maxman banking on Na'Vi, who are on a fairly wide and controlling split on these hillsides. Colaris on the MADBULLS on the south side of the circle, set to sweep if things go their way.
Although things haven't gone well for Na'Vi over the past couple of days, I think Maxman continuing to predict them here is not a bad call whatsoever. I think Na'Vi has been caught out multiple times by snakes in the grass or unknown factors that is very, very hard to predict. And when you play split like this, where you try and take as much control as possible, those snakes can really put a massive dent in your gameplay. And I think that for Na'Vi, on good days where you don't see those unknown factors come into effect, you know, Na'Vi would be absolutely blasting out of their mind, but it just has been quite unlucky, I would say, that it has happened so many times in this Phase 3.
PNL not quite getting the spray onto the escape route there. Matic getting nades over to 4 Romanian men. And they're trying to answer, but it's not going well right now. Na'Vi, as you say, absolutely blasting. 4 Romanian men fall. Na'Vi now up to 5 eliminations. Eastern Stars push onto QODEX's compound. They leave with 4 Romanian men not going to be in the fight anymore, but Moneyken up the stairs has now got 4 Eastern Stars to deal with as the last player is regrouping Kapahala as the backstop, but they will need to move further.
Okay, mate, tosses a nade upwards. QODEX suffering a little bit here. Down to just the singular player, 0 eliminations. Effect will take down PNL, that's off in the distance. So MADBULLS also have eyes on in this fight, which Eastern Stars may need to be slightly worried about going forward, but first they have to deal with this player upstairs. Moneyken tosses a nade down, but doesn't do enough damage, and there's a nice one sent through the window, which will put an end there. Right on the edge of the circle, though, and most of these teams may be looking for a position. Obviously, Severny side held by Big as well as Pioneer. Hoping for that western shift, John.
They really are. And we'll be coming in about 20 seconds. Na'Vi on the eastern side, though, looking fairly solid. No snakes around just yet, but the de Muerte Death Machine fight on the north side could leave 1 or 2 if they are so unfortunate. De Muerte on 2 players alive. Death Machine with their last in Ultra finally goes down.
XTEAM, I'm pleased with this. You know, they made a rotation early, they took those shots from Pioneer, and they opted not to go for anything too aggressive. Instead, they've held towards the center, circles move up towards them. This is much better from XTEAM. This is what you want to see from them. I still doubt that they can really go toe-to-toe with some of these teams that are now getting around them in terms of MADBULLS and Na'Vi, but whatever, right? They have made the right decision, they've made the right rotation, and this is where everything starts to fall forwards from.
Big making the cross, trying to exit Severny, and doing so fairly successfully right now. Ruthless not really challenging it, but the back line there for MADBULLS on the oversight of this engagement, of this minor little scrap, could prove to be a real stopping point for Big. Will slow them down in their progression, moving towards Ruthless, certainly. So I think actually Ruthless got crunched in the middle of it, taken out in the midst, but Big still have that ridgeline to suppress.
They have to move through. Zerish just have eyes on. Understands he's a solo though, so can't make too many aggressive plays. If he gets taken down, it is a bit of a mad mission to pick him back up again with so many of the MADBULL players on the edge. Zerish right now just providing information back.
Na'Vi controlling a lot of ground still. They took down the duo from MUERTE on the northern side. Now they're turning their focus over to the Eastern Stars. Matic under pressure, fairly isolated as well, and out the back in the blue with it closing. You do not want to be knocked in that spot. Not this late in the game will make it so hard. XTEAM now also facing pressure from Big, from MADBULLS.
Yeah, Zerish able to spot one of the players through the window, and again, XTEAM need to go back to basics. It's a case of focusing on a single team, isolating an angle from MADBULLS. They're most likely going to have to deal with these teams over towards that eastern side. They need to be worried about the southwest, in which case, Big, as they're pushed slightly closer, this is when XTEAM to start take their shots towards them. Unicorns Love will go down, that's Icy out, but they do leave one player from Pioneer out in the backlines in the blue who will go down, so Pioneer down to 3.
MADBULLS will have some nades sent their way by Athis from Eastern Stars. On the southeast side, Na'Vi playing with buildings up 2. And Tixi and Matic move down south to spot this fight, to see the MADBULLS and the Eastern Stars going at it. And take shots whenever they can. Just find those spots and needle away at them.
See that Matic has a nade. They're a little bit out of range, though, to take these shots. Zerish finds Bazzi. And Athis will look backwards towards Matic, in which case Meku's instantly there.
There we go, and they are swept up. MADBULLS take that opportunity immediately. As soon as Athis's attention is turned away, they pick up a whole heap of points. Matic, though, is low. And actually, not really in the best of spots for it. They have to shift out, and they did move a player down. Meku moved on in to res his longtime teammate. And they will have to move a little bit further west, but they've got a lot of control over MADBULLS' rotation as well. Unfortunately, MADBULLS, they've got the sightlines.
Yeah, there's a refrag either way, and I think this is where Na'Vi maybe needs to consolidate a little bit. Maybe take position on that northern side. They don't need to take this fight between them and MADBULLS. They know with the circle and the playing path, most teams will be down towards the south. And with Tixi, and as well as team, having Kitsune as their backstop on anchor on the north side, this is not a position they have to hold, but they've allowed enough time for the MADBULLS to move up, making this almost an improbable retreat for Na'Vi now. They have to hope Kitsune has some eyes on, but this is effectively a 3v4, John.
Kitsune is just not in this fight right now. He is far too far away. Tixi taken down right out in the open as well, trying to play around those smokes. And now they can try and put that pressure back in, and the res can come through. Kitsune, I think, has suppression on this ridge line, but he's moved up finally. Now can start to have a little bit of an impact in this fight, but Meku's going low. There's just so much damage pouring towards Na'Vi, and Kitsune spotted. Hits the deck, just about gets away from it.
Yeah, he needs to live. It's impossible. He's brought back up again. Good nade, though. Now they're taking this fight 1-1.
2 players now left for MADBULLS as Na'Vi finally get their acts together in the engagement. Effect up the top of the hill, stands up, looks to take the sprays, but can't quite find it. Taken down, and Na'Vi finally win out the fight. As soon as Kitsune moves up, as soon as he gets an angle, draws some attention, creates some pressure, Na'Vi sweep it out.
Great shots from Tixi once again, down towards Take Aim Gaming. Spot that one immediately. They understand the fight's not over yet, John.
They are absolutely roaring into this final circle. As soon as the MADBULLS were taken away from them, everybody else is suffering already. Look at the red dots on the right-hand side. They're picking up those points. 12 eliminations already. XTEAM fall to Big, and now Na'Vi can move in as 4 versus a maximum of 2 players on Big, 2 on Pioneer, and Take Aim Gaming just on the 1.
They have played the edge for so long and have been extremely wary of the positions around them, and why not? It's the thing that's been taking them down so often before. This time, Na'Vi's having none of it. Kitsune takes an off angle, will take down the final player from Take Aim Gaming. 14 eliminations so far, potential of 4 more here for them. They have eyes on down towards Pioneer. Big's not really doing anything here. They don't want anything to do with this.
Certainly not. Get away from me. 3 teams remain. 2 duos. Where does the circle go? Pioneer already knocked, and Na'Vi have excellent lines onto it. The circle does go towards Big, and Na'Vi will be going their way. Pioneer likely to go down first as the nades start to pour on through the Molotovs as well. Unlikely to be able to get these reses. Havlik hits the deck, tries to smoke himself out and get some sort of position to maybe move forwards into the circle, but it's very, very unlikely that he makes it this far, especially with no more smokes.
Yeah, Kitsune continues to make Havlik swing wide out into open ground with these Molotovs. Now just Big to deal with. 16 eliminations, John. Na'Vi is absolutely sending it this game.
They absolutely swung after that MADBULLS victory. They had all 4 of them ready to go. And the speed of exit from engagements is always so important in these final circles, and Na'Vi gets such a good spot for it. But now they have to push in. You cannot count the 2 players from Big out. Beast and Mozero, very, very dangerous when they're backed into the corner. Na'Vi going to have to lose those wing off angles there as they draw back in. Mozero worried, as you can see, on that off angle, but a close play from Meku could prove to be troublesome. Sees Tixi up the hill. Tixi hits the deck, and the shots around the corner there from Meku force Mozero to reposition. An excellent 1-2 punch coming through from Na'Vi. Beast spotted as well through the window, and they choke Big out of position. Na'Vi take a roaring chicken dinner.
Massive victory there for Na'Vi. Pulls out the Carnival Hammer, lays it down on the target, and they hear the ding, ding, ding as they shoot themselves towards the top of the standings off a single game there. 33 points for that one as well, with the 18 eliminations found. What a game from Na'Vi. And again, it's a cautious one. It's what they needed. And this time, they will be upping Max's pay. They will be giving him a pay rise for that prediction. Happy days. And I think that is one of the first good predictions that we see from Max in a long time. I take that back. He often gets podium finishes. But yeah, these lads were pumping out of their minds this game. Matic looking pretty good. And they were very careful with Matic, right? He oftentimes was a little bit too far forward, but not so forward enough this time around that he was unresable. And even in certain situations, again, like you said, John, they were swiveling from fight to fight. Not a single moment lost between engagements. It was absolutely unbelievable to watch, and a very, very well-deserved game there for Na'Vi.
We saw TJB transition quickly as well to get their Sanhok chicken dinner. It seems like staying as 4, moving quickly is on today's menu, and it is one hell of a strategy to watch. It's very exciting. I'm sure there's more excitement still to come after the analyst desk. And on them.
Well, there will be excitement, but not until we get to have a little bit of fun with Max. The Mad Lad with his first correct prediction here in Phase 3. It was starting to look like XTEAM would get a chicken dinner before Max would get himself a correct prediction.
This was supposed to be my moment. I just can't feel happy because I know you're just going to just rip into me. But I get one. You know, like he'll be yap yow, I guess. Yeah, but Na'Vi played a good spot, pretty central. Circle came their way, and I'm scared of what you're going to say, Jason. Now I feel like I'm trapped. But yeah, one point.
Hey, you got it.
I'll take it. Yes.
Yeah, not bad. Can we check it with overalls?
No.
There they are. I'm just curious, where you're at. Yeah. What if we got the points from the correct prediction every match?
I would like that. Can we do that now? Can we start doing that right now from this game? Can we give me 33 points? Thank you. I'll take it.
Maybe. But Na'Vi though, massive game for them, honestly, considering like the position they had. The thing was, we had a zone shift that I kind of went out of Severny, and instantly Clarus were like, okay, Na'Vi win, just because of the position they had, and obviously the zone, and then them taking out MADBULLS broke Clarus's heart. Pioneer getting taken out as well by Na'Vi broke my heart, and Max was cackling like an evil maniac. But Na'Vi should be happy about this as well as being, again, Max does fantastic accents, by the way. He was talking them up for us during the match. But Big haven't had a good match like this since, I feel like, the first day. So nice to see them bounce back with 19 points.
Yeah, decent position for them too, actually. I have the impression they're doing that a lot more now when they drop in Severny. They try and just leave Severny, try and get as much information as possible, but unfortunately by doing so, they allow a lot of other teams to leapfrog their spot. Luckily enough, the circle goes southwest a few times in a row, so they're still included in the circle itself, so good to see them get a second position. But if the circle was any more, I would say, north or over to the east, that's a completely different ball game. But Big, I have the impression of trying different things to facilitate rotations away from Severny, but I would still like to see a secondary drop location because I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it, no.
Back to the Na'Vi though for a second here. This is the joint first place for biggest game of the tournament so far. Ever since Nexus, of course, got an 18 elimination chicken dinner in Phase 1. So good to see a big win go their way off the back of this for that joint first place spot as a whole. And considering the position they were in with that circle shift, as you're mentioning, Jason, they should have got something big off of this due to the fact that a lot of the terrain for everybody else to enter these circles, it's very barren. There's not much cover to be able to work with. There is just like lips of hills that you saw the MADBULL and Na'Vi fight go down on, and Na'Vi was able to get the victory off of that. And then basically, whoever wins that fight between MADBULLS and Na'Vi is in prime position to win that game, and Na'Vi gets it.
And again, it was actually quite a few players that felt like for Na'Vi stepping up, everyone hitting their shots here, and it's not easy to do when you have the likes of, you know, MADBULLS and PIONER still in the lobby, still fighting against you. And to be fair to XTEAM, after my comment earlier on, they did actually rotate, as Blink said, very well into the zones. They got themselves extremely far into the match here, but at least for XTEAM's sake, like, one game is not going to be enough for them. They're bottom of the table at the moment. They have to have a massive, well, rest of the day and the next 3 days if they want to somehow break through to top 16 overall to get into the finals.
It's not just that as well. It's also the fact that I think a lot of the lobby right now sees XTEAM as cannon fodder, which is a really rough position to be in, because once the rest of the lobby sees you in that vein, then if they, you know, feel like they're fighting you in those moments, they are going to push you harder and they are going to pressure you harder. So for XTEAM, it's an exponential threat that exists for them, not just being 20th, but also almost every fight not going their way. And when once people realize it's you, it's going to be GG.
And considering they had one of the biggest games we've ever seen in the PMPL last season, it's kind of surprising to see them, I don't know, have such inconsistencies or not be able to play at that kind of level, because it's not easy to get, what do they have, like 20, how many limbs do they have?
24, I believe it was, yeah.
24. Yeah. That's ridiculous. 39 points on a game.
It was a good one, but unfortunately, one game is just not going to make a team, is not going to make a performance. Right now, if you're looking at XTEAM at the start of the day, if they wanted to make in top 16, they had to double their points they had in Phase 1 and Phase 2 combined, and also the first 2 days of this third phase. So doubling all of their points so far in the entire tournament in the amount of days left is mission impossible. So I think it's fair to say that they are not going to be making it into the finals. Only thing you can expect them to have is potentially improve, learn from these CIS teams as much as possible for next year. If they even here in the first place, I don't know, with that position, they could potentially slip out. So it's a bit tough.
Well, if you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, Maxman predicting that XTEAM won't make it into the finals, so we're going to see XTEAM in the finals.
It's true. Meteoric Rise win every game from here on out.
Well, here's Navi's player stats here. Matic, over 1,100 damage done. I mean, everyone really putting in work here. Tixie, 873, even though he had the 7 of limbs. I mean, Na'Vi playing that one extremely well, just dislodging team after team and getting a limb after a limb. And for them to survive, I feel like with how many firefights they got into with all 4 players, I think that's pretty crazy and a testament to how good Na'Vi are.
Especially since, I mean, on the east side, the split that they have for quite a while in this game is quite wide considering the terrain, but they controlled it well, I think is fair to say. And they did a very good job of cordoning off any team that would want to come in from the direct east and made sure that they had to divert their path to an alternate location.
I would say the main weakness of having such a wide split, because it was a pretty big split, right? They had players on all of the eastern side of that circle. The main threat to that spot is if you allow teams to get too close, but because they were just constantly just throwing a barrage of bullets to teams around them, no one wanted to get remotely close. And then because of that, you have full control of the eastern side, and when you have to get into the late game circle, there's not as many teams, then you regroup, then you go for the win. So it was good execution, and Tixie's move in particular, his off angles were absolutely key in most of those fights. So yeah, it's strong play from Na'Vi, right? We saw the improvement phase after phase, and this is their new standard, I would say.
All right, well, let's see if their new standard is going to net them a first place at the moment as we check in with our overall standings. Remember, MUERTE was leading at the start of the day. Did have quite a few CIS teams over at the top, but they're still going to be holding it, but not by much. MADBULLS directly tied with them at points, but behind because they have less chicken dinners.
Oh, yeah, I mean, MADBULLS are still... The thing is, MADBULLS, no matter where you think they might be falling off, they're going to come back strong at some point, right? And today they've had a really strong day, closing off that gap with MUERTE. But CIS, Eastern Stars, TJB, big. Pioneer, CIS, a little bit of a lower performance from Pioneer in particular, but there's a little bit of a step up potentially from some of the EU teams, but it's still very CIS dominated here, I like to say.
Earlier we were making light of the fact that, you know, taking fights against MADBULLS is no easy feat, and seeing that they have 68 eliminations, and quite honestly, no one's close to them right now in Phase 3. That is quite the considerable step up from the 54s that we're seeing of Na'Vi, and Eastern Stars actually with 54 is great, but MADBULLS is head and shoulders above people right now in this phase in that regard. And if you're getting these eliminations, the placement points will eventually come to you, so all they need to do is keep on that track.
It's actually really insane when I'm looking at the stats right now. Effect is currently top fragger of all of Phase 3 with 32 eliminations. The second highest fragger of the entirety of this phase as 20 at this GK first. He is miles ahead. And it is insane. Like, Effect really grew on us all, I think, in this tournament so far. So it's a dominating performance every single phase.
We can see here the rest of the teams getting down to 16th place. Nexus Gaming could be sitting there currently. Game Lord as well, kind of falling down to 14th place. But as we go a little bit further, XTEAM with the result in that last match, able to get themselves into 18th place. So not a bad start here for the ultra comeback for XTEAM that Max has alluded to for us. Shockwave in 17th with 44. We are about a minute away though until we head into our next match. But I want to remind you guys at home about something important. We want to see how you guys are watching PMPL. You can make sure to post on Instagram or on Twitter. Use the hashtag PMPLWEU. And if I believe correctly, Max, we do have a submission about this. And you also have learned Spanish specifically so you can translate what it says.
I actually closed the translation. I don't have it on me. You put me on the spot. Okay, I forgot. I learned Spanish for like 3 years and I forgot everything. But yeah, we've got a submission coming in from Twitter this time. Is it coming up? I'm not sure though. But yeah, we were trying to see how people are going to be watching. I don't know. Is it coming up?
Max?
I don't know if it is. Maybe. There
I don't know.
There it is.
I can translate for you if you want.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
It says, I'm so shocked that Max hasn't had any predictions right for so long. No.
I knew that was going to come. I should not let you jump in. To be honest, hey, this is how I watch my PUBG Mobile Esports, okay? So this is, I would rate this a very solid 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, very good. Very cool.
Lovely.
Okay, 8.5 out of 10. Let's go to our 10 out of 10s with John Allen and Blank to take us into our 4th match of the day.
10 out of 10. That's a very nice thing to say, Jason. Thank you very much. We're going to be going into the second Miramar of the day. You feeling pretty pleased with that rating, Blank?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels ambitious, to say the least. Especially coming from Jason, I feel like he would usually would attack me. This feels weird. This feels wrong.
Maybe he's up to something. He always is. He's a wily man, is our Jason.
An odd beast. So. Heading over towards Miramar now, our second one of the day. Playing path from Via de Mar towards Torre Hamada. So this one goes right dead center through the actual map itself, which gives, I think, most teams generous amount of times to get towards their positions. I think there's literally nowhere here that teams can't get to fairly succinctly. Eastern Stars not playing this map, so Minas Generalis is open. QODEX and Pioneer also not in this one, as well as 4 Romanian men. So I think that Impala side, that is going to be a part of the map which is going to be quite contested. But by ESO for VP though, they'll be happy to sit down there and we'll have some decent rotational paths going forward. Circle will change a lot of things in this, especially with a lot of the map kind of being a bit barren because of some of these teams not playing, especially down towards Chumacera with Big and not Pioneer in this one either. Sorry, Big is playing, but Pioneer not being able gives a lot of time for Big to actually gain some space, gain some confidence down in Chumacera and maybe strike out towards either side of the map depending on where the circle does land.
And this is also a possible time for Team Doom to really make a dent in the 28-point deficit that they have from that 16th place on the overall total across all phases rankings. They set on 302 points right now in 17th to 330 on Death Machine in 16th place. This is a chance. If they drop out on the south side, south circle, they can have quite a good... If they have a good game here, if they get 10 points in, and if Death Machine go down early, this is great news for them.
I mean, generally, Team Doom's quite a good team on Miramar. They have some pretty decent rotations. I will say they get themselves caught around about Zone 5 and then were picked up by one of the other teams who has a better spot within the circle. I think that's just due to late rotates where they try and stay out of the way for a long, long, long while. And unfortunately, that doesn't assist them too much. It just comes to a case where, yes, they live for a long time into Zone 5, but by the time they come in, they have no space to work around, no areas to play. On the other hand, got Arabian Champions, take down 2 players on their side. So Death Machine, this is certainly a game for them to maybe pick up some more points and extend their lead.
If they can win that fight cleanly, it'll be the first in a while. And I think that they have given ARB pause for thought there. On 2 players, you can't really go in for that central apartment complex. I mean, you could try, but I don't think it would go very well. And I think they know that. Well, they should do anyway. There's actually Ruthless. They're coming in for a third party. I mean, I kind of also don't understand why no other team has been just like putting pressure on the sides of these fights. Because they're a lot of just open broadsides, and they've been let to do this for so long.
Well, they do. I mean, MADBULLS come in later on, and they just pick up the pieces from this engagement. They don't want to get too heavy on it, so they don't lose any players. But it does give them that reasonable rotation down towards and through Picardo, should it be an eastern circle. On the other hand, Ruthless Esports just hang around on the edge side and catch any stragglers that do come out while still being able to loot up fairly easily in the early game. Either way, this fight doesn't go well for really anyone that's in Picardo. Death Machine usually go down shortly after this. I think this is probably one of the first good chances for Death Machine to get something done here, as they don't have to leave Picardo this time around and can chill there for a little bit longer, though that might also spell their downfall with them feeling a little bit too safe.
I'll tell you what, if anyone tries to fight them in Picardo, they are really in practice right now. So it's potential for it to be difficult, but no one really pushing in just yet. Team Team Doom are hoping that they don't go too much further, though. That is their hope, to try and lash out towards that 16th place and get qualified for the finals.
XTEAM close to one of the players, Ruthless Esports, but already he's away. Big for Mercy tries to take some shot through the fencing, but it's thwarted there, and Pocus gets out just at the right time. He starts to hear some footfall over towards that area of the map. Look at the general rankings once again. MUERTE still tied, but not with VIRTUS.PRO anymore, but instead with MADBULLS at 130 points. 78 placement points this time around, though. Pretty damn good stuff. VIRTUS.PRO still holds that record with 88 total placement points in third place, the most in the lobby, but 35 eliminations. Really doesn't speak to what we usually see from this team, so it's kind of insane that we see a placement point like double and over eliminations for a team.
It's the first time in a while as well that we haven't seen Old Boy super high up the FaZe MVP rankings as well on the roster, right? Normally, as you say, you're used to them getting a little bit more, but in Phase 2, to be fair, they got 152 placements, 99 elimination points. And over in Phase 1, they had a little bit more balance with 139 to 129 placement to elimination points there. So it was a little bit more balanced, but the second phase was a little bit quieter from them. Is this going to be an even quieter Phase 3 from them still?
Yeah, you do wonder, right? And I think Jason talked about this at the beginning on the pre-show, in which case that this is the best time to peak as a team in terms of performance as you head in towards the finals, get the amount of points you need to get done. That is a disappointing statistic there for Game Lord. Not even a single elimination average on the game of Miramar, half an elimination there, which is very, very unfortunate. You talked about the MVP rankings at the moment. Effect is far ahead and away of anyone else at the moment. 32 eliminations. I think the closest second to that is GK First with 20.
Yeah, it is. Max was highlighting that on the desk. 20 eliminations, but very similar damage numbers, actually. Effect doing 5.329 at the start of this game. So it's before this game's numbers that will have come in. And GK First doing 5.317. So there's a difference of, what is that, 12 damage points, which is basically nothing over the course of all of the games that we've had so far this phase. So it's very tight there, but it seems like Effect just way more efficient with that damage, getting 32 eliminations on it.
Yeah, well, you would almost think that this is due to team play, right? I think for GK First, he is almost that single-handedly getting TJB through some very hard times.
Beast rolling up to the ground floor there. They want to mount up towards ARB. Hamo, last player for the squad, needs to be careful. The bird stop the jump out, but there's the outside to worry about. Hamo spotted, taken down. ARB eliminated.
Yeah, going back to that original point, though, I mean, that is just GK First kind of being that carry for the team. On the other hand, Effect has some really good players backing him up on the side of MADBULLS, which allows his conversion rate to be much stronger, because every single fight that they take and any damage they put in generally does transition itself over towards a squad wipe or just a little couple of eliminations on their side whilst they're sweeping through the lobby. And I think that, you know, you can look at this MVP ranking and be like, oh yeah, Effect is just insanely good, but a lot of that, when it comes to being an MVP, does come off the back of the rest of your teammates.
Next team want the angles towards Ruthless, but not spotting them just yet. Ruthless still guarding. A little bit further away, south side of Picardo. Southwest, TJB have moved into the east flank of Picardo. Team Doom have moved up and actually playing on the east of Chumacera right now, close to Big on their location. MADBULLS starting to leave El Pozo.
Slowly moving down from that spot. I mean, with the circle being like this, they know they've got a lot of space ahead of them down towards Monte Nuevo. They can wait for a lot of other teams to move out. On the other hand, you can see VP down towards the south side of the map, just the east side of Via de Mar. You drop in Porto Paraíso. They will now have to move, though, over the top side. Team Doom in not a bad spot. I think this is more the circle, placing them in a good position than anything. They didn't move too much from the south side, but they've set themselves up in a position where they can maybe get some eliminations just on the edge. But we are heading over towards Los Leones, a dangerous territory. The teams in Western Europe at the moment are quite heavy, set on heading into these urban finishes nice and early on. You can see already many teams mounting up in vehicles, getting themselves in a position where either they're inside the city or on the outer edges where they can perhaps get something done.
RV moving past Hacienda, TJB not there to slow them down. At the back of the queue, see if they can sweep it out. Game Lord having not the best results on Miramar. Maybe that's one of the better teams to be able to find the back of on the push. Still got Unicorns of Love ahead as well. And they might come across a fight that's engaged, as Unicorns of Love could post up top here. It seems like they have.
They have position. Game Lord moved down through Graveyard. Obviously, this is a bit of a difficult and treacherous territory to be moving through in the first place, with being in between two valleys. Icy actually went down, and that's from GK first. That's Payush.
He's got a Vendetta. He's out for it. PJB. Oh, not the only ones to spot Unicorns of Love. Rolkis rattled by Victor. And 2 players now standing for the Unicorn squad.
Unicorns of Love get slogged on by a couple of different teams and now have to send away. I'll say that sometimes their awareness in these engagements is slightly lacking in terms of being able to post up. I think it's a fair few times that TJB has actually taken shots towards them. It is interesting considering GK first was towards the center of the circle, maybe has struck out a little bit further than maybe Unicorns of Love were expecting. Game Lord moved their way down, but now Na'Vi also from La Cobreria move in from that north side. So Unicorns of Love, Game Lord, both at threat here from Na'Vi after their last game where they were on fire.
On form, ready to go. VIRTUS.PRO. Saying we haven't seen that many eliminations coming in from them, but they still had very solid results in the 3rd place. You can see that at the top of the screen right now. Being challenged out now, though, by Na'Vi, as actually it's fairly close all the way up at the top. Team Doom still very much going forwards in this game. They're a decent position on the east side of Chumacera. No one really pressuring them just now. They're still up at 4. And of course, they are an all-important chasing team over towards Death Machine's 16th place.
VP park their cars up. Make sure no shots can come down towards them. They'll need them later on. They know they're on the edge of the circle anyway, so movement will be key. Na'Vi looking out towards Minas Gerais. Now, Na'Vi 4v4, fantastic. Na'Vi 4v1, terrible. They just can't handle it. When there's one player, they're never able to set themselves in a position where they will take fights with anyone else. They're so much more preoccupied with the larger picture a lot of times that they tend to forget about these solo players out inside the blue. Massive shift down towards the south side. VP pleased with that one. In the meantime, MADBULLS all grab their vehicles, hands on the wheels, and they will be sending it towards VP spot.
Effect leading the charge. The man of the hour, doing so much work in Phase 3 for the roster. If you take a look at the elimination totals coming in from MADBULLS, right? 68 elimination points. And 32 of those, almost half of those coming through from Effect. I mean, we knew it was a lot, but like that is crazy. On a team like MADBULLS to have almost 50% of the eliminations.
It is kind of unbelievable, honestly. But they're making it happen regardless. They do move down towards that south side, maybe wanting to post up towards the southeast, maybe, and just skip the queue on a lot of this, particularly because they were already on the south. They know a lot of teams will be moving from the north. Ruthless, Salazar taking shots from Nexus at the moment, whilst the rest of the team tries to contend with TJB off in the distance, who sent their way down towards the south very early on across the road. Everyone knows that that road crossing can be absolutely difficult to get across in the first place.
TJB on the western side, looking for the holdout still. Taking a knock, but should be Reserble. Ruthless moving down. How far can Death Machine go into this one is the big question I have, because that's the team that I'm really kind of paying attention to, because we don't normally see them as a full four at this point in the game. Even this early in the game, they're normally down to at least 3, maybe 2, a lot of the times even out fully. So from the northwestern side, this is their chance to prove to us that they can operate from Picardo effectively.
You have to wonder, though, they were in Picardo for a while, and this circle shifts down towards the south side. Why are they one of the last teams inside the zone itself? It's a interesting conundrum for them. Again, they've never really had to rotate away from Picardo too many times, getting shut down either inside Picardo or on the exit outwards. So this is new territory for them, put it that way.
Certainly could be. MUERTE sneaking their way in on the southwest as well, right on the edge. VIRTUS.PRO still holding firm on their location. MADBULLS actually wrapped around them and passed out to the east to a couple of buildings of their own.
Yeah, a decent rotation there. I think this is something that we kind of expected, is just skipping that queue again, head towards the south side. They know most teams are coming from the north, so they can kind of be a little bit more lax on their south side. But Na'Vi made that massive rotate from the eastern edge down towards the southeast side, and will be coming into contact with MADBULLS soon. Now, MADBULLS get an insane circle here, and Zerish on the rotate might be caught out by Na'Vi. It's only 2 players here, but it's definitely doable, and they're getting up towards the compound underneath MADBULLS. Tixi and Meku need to be there immediately.
Kitsune makes it to the wall and has a little bit of safety, hits the floor. No one really challenging right now. Shockwave have yet to move south fully and get the angle onto Na'Vi, who have moved in really quite effectively. The backup is coming through now. Tixi and Matic both now close by, and the MADBULLS not able to suppress it off. Playing a little bit slower, split 2 and 2 for Na'Vi.
Yeah, they take 2 locations here. I don't know about this one, considering this is probably one of the only areas that is extremely strong within this circle. Taking the split, maybe a little bit greedy, but if Na'Vi is happy to hold it, this is really a chance where they can start getting some more elimination points and get further up those rankings.
Focus sprays over the top, finds the shot into Team Doom on the south, on the northwestern side now of the circle. Perks turned on as well, and this is not good news for the chance for Team Doom to strike out, as we were saying before, towards that Death Machine position, because they're still going. They are still alive, and it's far too early to be going down if you want to be racking up those points. Team Doom left at 1.
Yeah, Frosty has to move away. And again, this is a position they've held practically all game. To get sent away from it by Ruthless Esports, who've moved down from Picardo, is a bit awkward, to say the least. Now he sends up all the way towards Death Machino, moving in on that northern side. Nexus has a position here within a warehouse.
Double MADBULLS prediction coming through from Jason and Maxman. Kalaris with VP. VP were holding in their compound for quite some time, and MADBULLS, we saw their control, their position in basically right in the center of this circle now. Na'Vi regroup on the south of them.
Death Machine take down the contender in Team Doom, who are the chasers. So we'll put a stop for that for the time being. Again, right on the edge, though, one player does get knocked from Robs. Ultra will be taken out of the game. Nexus, XTEAM, trying to move up to this one, but it is so open. Without the help of smokes, XTEAM is more than likely going to be cut down in the next few minutes.
Yeah, only 2 of them remaining, Nightmare and Zombie. But Nexus with 4. They're right on the edge of this circle, and likely they're going to have to cross the road. So do they stick it out? Do they wait for another pick and try and find that? Actually, hang on a minute. Exo spotted by MADBULLS from the south side. All the way across the road, actually going down to it. And potentially getting flushed. Death Machine get eliminated as well with 3 points on the game. So they won't be getting too much further out in the lead ahead of Team Doom or ARB. But all 3 of those teams are out of this game.
Yeah, it's an extremely slow rotate coming through from Death Machine again, which causes their demise. A lot of teams now just recalculating their approach to this game. Na'Vi sent away from that warehouse next to MADBULLS down towards that south side. Looking over towards Unicorns of Love, it took a similar rotate. So we team that they'll have to keep tabs on.
Only 2 players left from Unicorns of Love, but that could still be a problem. We know how snakes can impact Na'Vi on their positions. This is a circle that just gifts MADBULLS so much. Wrapped up in a nice little bow.
But this is where Na'Vi can potentially make a play, because that warehouse they approached earlier was free of position, and Matic's going to move up to it now, and I think the MADBULLS were looking to hold out the enemy team, so it was a position that was scouted early. Really smart stuff from Na'Vi to move down here. They send the Anchor and Matic up towards that warehouse. Potentially the rest of the team can follow up. They will have to still keep tabs on Unicorns of Love, so they're sending 1 player at a time here.
Nexus finally putting the final nails, the final joints in the coffin of XTEAM, trapped with their backs to the blue, and the nades are pouring on in as well. Nightmare has another first aid, and the burn is on the corner. Zombie actually makes it round the turn and actually goes in for a fight with a chance there. Doran backs him off and fortunately gets the knock. Octavian now with another attempt at the fight. Nightmare low and taken even lower as Octavian swings on in and finally puts them down. 2 players left from Nexus.
Really careful play here from Na'Vi as well, playing the 2-2 where you've got 2 players within the zone and 2 players out. Na'Vi, Meku does go down and they're not able to quite clear that team of Unicorns of Love, who saw 2 players leave and immediately sent towards that compound. A good play from Unicorns of Love as well to really notice exactly what was going on there. They see 2 players are left and they feel like they're confident to take the 2v2 there, and that will cause some issues. A setback now for Na'Vi, and complications now arise of how they're going to play this end game. They do send another player up towards position of Na'Vi and, well, Tixi and Matic, with Kitsune holding the high ground.
MADBULLS trying to suppress VP on the rotation. Salazar, oh, we got a run down there. Those final moments. Nicely done, and turns around for the flush.
Classic Salazar with the old rundowns. It wouldn't be Salazar with them. Gonzo is taken away there. Kitsune very well aware of those positions from that team. Dadaev outside of the zone as well with Crypto, so these 2 players could clash.
Na'Vi, though, do spot the players on the out. Dadaev is closer. I wonder if Na'Vi spotted that as well from MUERTE. Maybe they did. VIRTUS.PRO still pushing in from the west.
Effect took a very aggressive position there towards VP. Surprised didn't go down, but that's Effect for you, able to play those angles and then realize the exact moment when he has to retreat back off them and give space towards VP. Knows there's more teams in this area. Open towards this east side of the compound that MADBULLS are currently in, and Kitsune dangerously close to sight lines coming through from VP. That is a natty shift on the circle.
Oh, Kitsune just manages to get a good timing there. Luckily makes it back to the ridgeline with the buggy. His armor's a little bit dented, a little bit damaged, but the dings will still be there to keep him safe. As VP swing out, trying to leapfrog ahead of the MADBULLS, but it's so difficult against those sightlines.
I mean, with VP, I don't think MADBULLS can actually even see VP at the moment. They're downhill from them. Skills will take down Terminus, just try and clear some space on that northeast side, and VP can actually effectively clear up towards that compound on the northwest side of this circle. Only Narvalo's there, so it is a dangerous push, but it's not one that most teams would perfectly opt for, honestly, at this point in the game. So Tudica goes to scout, the rest of the team stays behind.
Dadaev spotted out by Tixi. Na'Vi still going with 3. Shockwave continue to get punished. Stepping up to the position. 1 knock goes over. Old boy sprays down his old teammates. Matic goes low, but there's a nade to answer for it. Matic too far forwards really to go for the res, and Tixi has to fall back and go for this heal. A little bit out of nade range right now. Can Na'Vi regroup? Can they get back together? Because this zone is pushing in.
Matic able to get up, but MADBULLS still have sight lines. That'll be Matic going down. They've not left as of yet. Skills up top side. Goodness me, Na'Vi now down to just 2 players. Nade goes over. It's in the middle, but might find something if it bounces badly.
VP have been locked into this fight as well, Blank, which means they couldn't go up towards Narvalo. They were busy. With Na'Vi on their flank, they needed to be worried. Both of these teams now fighting for the chance to die to MADBULLS guns, and it seems. As Tixi will have to summit the ridge. VIRTUS.PRO mounting up. Tixi first to make that leap. Will get spotted by Skills, but has a little bit more cover still to work with. Tixi pushing forwards towards VIRTUS.PRO and pushing them off. Tulika spotted, open. This is a wild push from Tixi, but he makes it work. He forces the issue and now can push up to the back of VIRTUS.PRO. They need to be worried. I'm sure they're on the lookout.
Yeah, here's the run out from him as well, and decides this is the perfect time to go in. Narvalo on his lonesome takes down 1 player from VP, which opens things up now for Na'Vi.
Look to maybe get the spray. It's a 2v2 now on this engagement, but Tixi turned on Kitsune, knocked in the meantime to a nade, but there's pressure from all sides now. Tixi worried about this ridgeline. Nades over onto Yankee either way. Will put VIRTUS.PRO into even more of a tight spot. As Narvalo is just playing so strong as this solo. The Molotov into the middle of the smoke. Old Boy trying to reposition, but VP are down to 2.
Nades just a little bit short there. Old Boy does take a hefty hit and we'll have to move away from it. 7 eliminations so far for Victor, or for Gamelord, sorry. And Monkey still going. Mia low, but able to find one of them before Old Boy is put down.
Effect and Skills now the last 2 alive for MADBULLS. Take-Aim Gaming all of a sudden can look to push on in. With the time on this fight, they have got a little bit for this rest. Narvalo is still going as a solo on Gamelord. Had broadside there, didn't quite land the spray on Demur, but he's low. He's on a sliver of HP, a fraction. Nades up the hill as well, over onto MADBULLS. Leave Take-Aim Gaming such a wide window of opportunity, and the Molotovs start to pour on through. The burn is there. 2 players close. It's Zerek and Effect to play for MADBULLS. Out wide, Zerek goes down again. Effect still down in the foxhole. The nade is over to slow down the push, but he can't stand up to it. VIRTUS.PRO are out, and in comes Narvalo as the solo survivor.
That was a 1v4, almost impossible for him to clean up, but finds a couple of eliminations for himself. As the Vector, it's a decent in close quarters combat. Toffees moves up.
Spray around the door frame. Toffees goes down. Narvalo, 3 first aids, looks for the point, and you pick that one up. You take that. You know you're probably not going to be able to win there. And Gamelord, wow, 10 eliminations on the game from Narvalo, doing so much work. Either way, Take-Aim Gaming sneak it back.
Yeah, for VP, they retreat a little bit too quickly away from Na'Vi, and Tixi absolutely takes the chance that he has to try and push that one. I think for VP, it could have been fine if they're able to move up towards that building that Narvalo was playing, but Narvalo, on the other hand, has other ideas about this. Great nades over the side, gets 9 eliminations for Gamelord, which from like a very difficult position to begin with, but again, it was those shifts all over the place which caused massive issues for everyone. MADBULLS could have even stuck out their position for a lot longer if they knew the circle was going to come back their way. In the meantime, Take-Aim Gaming, they do not get involved with any of these engagements. They play it steady on that side of the map and are able to move in at the last moment. 1,000 damage there for Narvalo and 6 eliminations. Truly deserved for that singular player.
It was unfortunate that VP weren't able to push in cleanly. Tixi really ruined their day for VIRTUS.PRO on that final push.
Yeah, I mean, getting crunched between those 2 players on the low ground, so difficult for VP to mess around with. And there was a real chance for them to hit it up. And I think for Take-Aim Gaming, you mentioned it yourself, they just had such a massive opportunity to start pushing in when they realized that things were getting real bad on that side of the map.
Yeah, it was a little bit messy, but they came through with their brooms and they swept it all up for a chicken dinner.
Honestly, a crazy finish with everything that was happening. So many great micro plays out of, well, honestly, so many different teams. Having Na'Vi, VP fighting hand in hand, having MADBULL on that high ground position with Skills. Tag with a great rotation at the perfect time to capitalize off of all this. It was a hectic but really rewarding finish, I'd say, Max.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of really good positions, and you said really good macro from a lot of the teams here. Unfortunately, a lot of the teams up north really struggled to cross that road. I think that mainly Game Lord is one of the teams that struggled the most. They lost, I think, 3 of their players to the hands of Ruthless trying to make that cross happen. Luckily enough, Narvalo does step up, get what was that 6 eliminations, I believe, on his lonesome. So good from him. But yeah, the movement down south were really well executed from a lot of teams. And I really thought MADBULLS were going to get it, but I predict them. So of course they don't get a win. So I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, you kind of cursed us by cursing them, by picking them.
Yeah.
Game Lord, 22 points though, 10 eliminations. Huge game for them as well. Desperately needed to try to maintain a position here into our top 16, but also gets them a little bit further ahead of all the other teams here for that race to PMGC. So they should almost be secured, if not guaranteed secured now. As we look down the list here, Take Aim Gaming, 15 placement points, only 4 limbs, but again, rough position to play from, but they still had great decision making.
I hate to do this for Game Lord, considering they did get 22 points off the back of this, but it is still kind of a Hail Mary send for Game Lord and a little bit of a late rotation as a whole. I mean, they're far out of the circle, and then they lose a few on rotation, and Narvalo's the only one that gets to a warehouse, which is likely not very well scouted, considering they were in a bit of turmoil before they send there, and then he gets there, and it's quite fortunate that nobody is there. So I think still for Game Lord, as much as it's a lot of points, I think it was a Hail Mary play here to try and get themselves into this spot.
And I really think the VIRTUS.PRO could have aimed for a win. If not, and I think Blank mentioned at the end there also, if Tigsy does not backstab them, eliminate 2 of their players, they have a chance to hold one of the best ridges in this circle. And if Narvalo is not there to also throw a few nades, they have the perfect ridge. I think that could have been a VP win, but unfortunately, because of those 2 players in particular, their chances kind of fell down the drain. So still a good play from VP, but unfortunately, the teams around them had different ideas for the endgame.
Yep, and as a little caveat here, for 13th place for Unicorns Love, just to give you guys an update to be open and clear with you guys, they will be losing 1 point, I believe, due to a rule violation. So the 2 points you see, it's only unfortunately going to be for them just 1, but it's not that big of a deal in the end. I mean, it's technically half their points in this match, but they're still faring well overall anyways, as we take a look at the highlights here from this match.
Yeah, I mean, XTEAM had also a decent spot up north, but unfortunately, as we already said, crossing that road was going to be the main issue. And TAG actually were able to reap the souls of a lot of the teams up north because they had such a good anchor point. Yeah, that was a bit, I don't know, a bit dark, but yeah. They just held on to that angle, that foothold, and then once they made sure that none of the teams up north were able to make that cross happen, their timing, and I think you already stated it, Jason, their timing to get involved on that fight versus MADBULLS was absolutely key. Like, they were so aware of their position. They had still 4 players alive, just overwhelm them with sheer numbers, and it's pretty much chicken dinner in the bag. So yeah, we don't see a lot of wins from TAG, but this was a respectable one. I would like to see potentially more down the line.
Yeah, very Shinigami once again of Max. But I think ultimately, it's, you're dead on the money with this. Too many teams would sit back and kind of say, okay, well, yeah, we're okay on the edge of this circle, northeast, and try and play it from there. But yeah, they really brought the fight to what were wounded teams on the other side, and kind of taking an advantage of that was super, super important to try and round out this game in as clean a fashion as they did, because you could quite easily allow MADBULLS to recover on the other side and not win that game. But they didn't do that, which is happy.
It was a nade from VIRTUS.PRO, I believe, that like kind of ruined the hopes for MADBULLS from like the super low ground. It caught one of the players and they tried to res him, and then I think another nade came in from TAG to knock him. Very tough times for MADBULLS to bounce back. But again, I mean, MADBULLS, they still make it like top 5. They still get a decent amount of points in this match, and they still actually take the lead from Duarte either way. But let's maybe turn our eyes towards TAG here. Take Game Gaming, take a look at their player stats, get an idea of who was standing out for the roster. Then again, it was only 4 eliminations, so not expecting too big of numbers, but you can see Toffee's here. 2 limbs, 400 damage done. It's enough to get the job done.
I still want to see more for Happy J, because he's one of the players from Team Ukraine that was able to actually qualify for the Bali finals in early December. And I think he actually really impressed me in the regional qualifiers of Europe. So I haven't seen too much of him, but we already seen what analysts could do in previous seasons of PMPL back in like, what was that, 2021, I believe. So I'm really not surprised to see him up there and with Toffees too. So yeah, it was a good defense up north and a really good timing on their fight. So very key, very clean. But as I said, I want to see more. This win is great, but we haven't seen much from this team outside of this 1 win, right? So I would like to see maybe a little bit more presence of them in the late game.
The thing is, the compound that they've been in as well, Jason, they're in it for a long time throughout this game. Kind of just chilling there and fighting off teams as they potentially approach. It's just kind of peacocking almost, firing a few hit warning shots here and there, firing at anybody that may come near that compound, and then able to transition into the late game.
Yeah, typically we've been seeing like convincing wins out of most teams, but I'd say this is not necessarily not a convincing win, but it obviously wasn't a landslide of eliminations. It wasn't them taking control of everything. It was kind of the zone favoring them and them just sitting back waiting for the time to strike.
Yeah, it's just opportunistic, and yeah, that's fine because sometimes the game gives you that and you got to run with it.
Okay, well, let's take a look at our total damage in the last match, because I'm expecting to see MADBULLS, Game Lord, VIRTUS.PRO, Na'Vi extremely high on this, considering the amount of fighting they had to go through.
Oh yeah, well, that's actually a lot of damage coming the way of Game Lord. I mean, it was mostly down to that fight you mentioned earlier, Kolaris, right? Up north of the road before that cross even happened, they were taking a fight versus Ruthless. That actually lasted a pretty significant amount of time, and Narvalo just full sent in a position that, as you already stated, also was not scouted, so it was kind of a risky play. Luckily enough, that position was not overtaken, and then he just puts all of the damage down onto VP's position, making sure they didn't have a chance to make it in that late game. So yeah, Game Lord, decent place, but it goes to show what could they have been able to do if they had 4 players in that spot. A win could have potentially been there down the line.
As a proviso to that, I assume it was not scouted based on the chaos that was going on the other side of the road. It could have, but there was a lot going on over there for it to be, you know, fully fleshed out. So it's an assumption.
Okay. Well, we had some great rotations out of teams, but we're going into now Sanhok here as our final match here of our 3rd day of the phase before we do go into a 4-day break. It's really a good time here for teams to make one last good effort, get as many points as possible. Still, our eyes can be set on quite a few different teams here. The zone going northeast last time over to the mainland. I'm curious, prediction, Max, out of you, where's the zone going? Where's the final zone going to be? The closest POI?
It's going to go back to Northwestern Island. I would like to see another one happen up there. So yeah, Northwestern Island.
No. Give me a POI. Give me a specific place.
Okay.
I'll give you 2 points if you get this correct.
2 points? Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to... let's say... No. It's going to be the trifecta next to boot camp, southeast of boot camp. There you go.
Okay.
That's not
to say, though, if you get it wrong...
No, because he said he wanted a more specific one, and the circle's in there a lot, so I changed it. That's my final word. Yes.
But I forgot to mention, if you get it wrong, you lose 2 points.
I'm gonna be negative at the end.
His face! Oh my God.
He loses 2 eyebrows.
Where's my... yeah, cool.
I just like looking at Max and just watching him be so sad. But you know what, Max? You don't have to be sad, because we have 2 commentators coming in, or I should say 2 cosplayers, cosplaying one of my favorite books of all time. It's James and the Giant Peach.
Sorry. I'm sorry, what? He's had you. Oh my goodness me, he's absolutely had you there.
It's just mean, isn't it, really?
He's just saying you're a nice, soft kind of guy. Like, you're just so approachable and nice to think about being I don't know.
Right, well, anyway, jump on the Giant Peach. Let's fly away to Sanhok. Absolutely fine. Let's do that. I mean, we can sift over the top side. It's all Gucci. Let's get the gang with us, get the caterpillars in.
That make me James.
That does make you James, and we'll see who can crawl through on Sanhok and find themselves a nice little runner-up victory. Maybe. I'm trying to get away from this because it's actually the house absolutely killed me off, hasn't it?
This kills the man. But you know what? We're going to give you a little bit of reprieve, Blank, because we're going to go to a quick video before we get the game started.
The French squad is back in action for another tough season at the Western Europe Pro Circuit. They were revered as the undisputed favourites of the region, and the mammoth amount of points they accumulated in the Spring League stage pays true homage to their superiority. Steps up and just pops it over the top and says, "Here you go, there's your breakfast." School dinners have never been so spicy, I tell you that much. Trazen swings in. Narvalo's looking for more, though. He's up the top of the wall, and it's only begged for mercy. Game Lord, we haven't heard from them so far today, but Narvalo cleans house. Game Lord back on top. However, that did not last in the finals and the EU Championship later that season, where their regional rivals came back for their pound of flesh. Furthermore, this fall season will see the inclusion of heavyweights like NATUS VINCERE and VIRTUS.PRO, making their shot at the title more grueling than ever before. But will Game Lord allow themselves to be looked down upon? The champion's blood in them begs to differ.
And Mishu's going to finish it off with a nail up taking. It's still alive, but he's being much quieter either way. That allows Game Lord to come in, swing on through, gets the elimination point. Mishu's left alive, but not for long.
Akashi's edge control always keeps the team at the top of their game. And when someone shows the guts to try and invade their stronghold, they were punished thoroughly by the dynamic duo of Victor and Narvalo, the menacing fraggers on the battleground of Western Europe. Narvalo came second in the MVP list for the PMPL Western Europe Season 2, where he secured 119 eliminations, and now owns the title of the best player from Spring through his jaw-dropping clutches and the elimination tally that went up to 135. And even if that's not enough, there's Robs, one of the finest gunners from the region to finish all hopes of their rivals. Finally, there's the new recruit Kale from FTY Esports, and we can't wait to see what he brings to the table of the Lords. In terms of gameplay, GameLord won't be changing too much for the playstyle, and will stick to their strengths. However, if the edge strategy starts to fail them during hard shifts again, GameLord is considering taking center control. Going up against the best in the world, it's been a while since we saw GameLord meet their match. Watch them go brawling with the champs for the title of PMPL Western Europe Fall 2022.
They will be challenging it on out. How you doing? Getting ready for Sanhok? Are we good to go?
I would say that we're good to go. Yeah, I'm ready to go whenever possible. That is the main thing for me, John. And I think when we head into Sanhok, maybe there's another MUERTE win. Maybe there's a MUERTE second place. Who knows? They're fairly consistent with it. We'll see if they can keep this up. We saw a line graph at the start of the day where it was kind of just third, fourths, firsts, and seconds. That's pretty much all they go for at the moment here on Sanhok. And by the way, those fourth places only occurred once over the last 5 Sanhoks at the start of the day, not including the one we've already seen where they got their second, but now we do head over towards Sanhok.
Plane path coming on through already. We are going north to south Hatin to docks. Everywhere going to be very accessible as it usually is on Sanhok. MADBULLS not playing in this final game, so can MUERTE or VIRTUS.PRO or Na'Vi even take that top spot as we close out the first half of Phase 3?
This is a real opportunity for them. I mean, I think that MUERTE being on top for so long and ending here on Sanhok for the first week of Phase 3, this would be a really good opportunity for them to actually hit that top position. Again, they would need a fair few points to make it happen. They would 15 to tie, and I think with the amount of chicken dinners they have, they should just eke out the tiebreaker and take that first place spot. Again, that would require themselves to get second place with a few eliminations as well if they're going to go for the heal strat. But we'll see if that does happen here. Effect there, you can see he is very, very clearly ahead of everyone else in terms of eliminations. Just saw that on your screen. 35 so far, I believe it was, which is quite crazy compared to like the 20s that we're seeing in second and third place.
Look how closely packed that Northwestern Island is. Mickey actually dropping out as a bit of an off angle there. Eastern Stars on board as well. Max's circle prediction still on the cards though. Southeastern boot camp on the compound.
Could definitely happen. Arabian Champions take up Paradise Resort with MADBULLS not being in it. They'll pick that one up for themselves. Unicorns will look up towards that northern side. Hamodi striking out a little bit towards their position here. So a lot of space found all the way around the map. You can see all these teams taking quite wide splits, other than QODEX down towards PIONER. Not really having to deal with NEXUS this time around.
Mickey caught in the middle of the Na'Vi split. Maybe trying to keep his head down, but potential to get spotted out, especially as the Na'Vi players start to regroup towards that confluence of rivers. Mickey moving around. No loot, no weapons. So if he is spotted, he's heard out as well. Kitsune knows he's there. This should be the end of Mickey. And he will get spotted. Jumps out wide, and Kitsune picks up the frag.
Yeah, just about picks that one up. Athis off in the distance, only has a UMP, might be able to take some tap shots towards him to get the elimination point. But this is a good start for the guys from Na'Vi. They get a little bit more control over this side of the map. A lot of times it is Big that is able to cause a couple of complications for them on that northwest mountain. This time around, this kind of follows and tracks their rotation path anyway as they move into that elimination, heading down towards the southwest confluence compound here. Moving across will require a little bit of finesse though. A few times they have been absolutely crunch between Pioneer and Bootcamp, with players like NEXUS or Team Doom getting in the mix with that one. Pioneer on that northern side could cause some issues. Again, this is going to be a difficult rotation for them, and they might want to reconsider how they rotate into the circle. Do they just stick on the edge? Do they play as Confluence Compound for a little bit longer? That would be an absolute option for them.
Pioneer holding in the middle of boot camp right now. Game Lord still a little bit split with Victor on the back. South side, MUERTE on their normal split, but they're kind of in this next circle, so they're not going to have to stay outside of it for too long at all. Tarev all the way over towards Bantai. Docks for 4 Romanian men. Potentially watching for any river crossings coming on through. Take Aim Gaming. They've been sprayed down like this before. I'm pretty sure I recall on the previous Sanhok them taking a lot of bullets on their rotation on those bikes.
Yeah, from Pioneer, I was able to find, I think it was 2 knocks there and a hefty amount of damage on the other 2. So take Aim Gaming to be wary about grabbing those bikes and moving, because it does leave you quite open to sprays. There's not a lot of car in there to cover you. It's all just kind of wheels and a chassis.
Although, they do, on that send, not get sprayed down and make it to the junction compound, which is really, really strong. We've seen so many teams do very, very well from this position. So if they can hold on to it, they're in a good spot right now.
Again, that just requires a little bit of healing, get it back into position. It's a quick rotate from Take Aim Gaming, and now you can see why we were discussing that rotation from Na'Vi and how it becomes a little bit more treacherous for them, with the path in their way laid with peril. Pioneer down towards the south side of Bootcamp. QODEX starting to strike out towards the north side of Painan as well. Na'Vi, I think at this point in time, they would love to just send straight through, right? But I think that they have to almost play themselves this edge guard position now, with that Northwest Island not being the biggest factor in this game. You are kind of playing edge when you hit towards this coastal side of Bootcamp.
Just that little bit. Team Doom taking some warehouses for themselves. A solid spot near Quarry, with their overlook over to the other side as well. They're scoping, they're scouting, they're playing wary, which you need to be on Quarry. It's a really difficult rotation area. And if your back's to it, it's all the harder.
VP, still in Camp Bravo, northeast side. MUERTE obviously holding towards Sami. Yeah, the circle heads down that way, but no one's really going to be heading down towards that South Island unless there's a big shift towards them. And even so, you know, you can't really count out MUERTE as a team if it does shift down towards the south, because they can quickly change gears into that of getting the chicken dinner if they gifted some circles there. So I think for MUERTE, it's never a team that you can kind of see as just easy pickings on that south side, because they are a healer team at the end of the day. It is the team that if you come up against them, they are difficult to put down.
No, I think no team is super easy to put down at this stage in the tournament. I mean, you highlighted it before. There's no team that is a bad team in this lobby. It's just some seemingly getting pushed over a little bit easier by some of the really strong teams in this lobby. So hopefully plenty of stand-ups to be had for the time being. Looks like Big are going to make their way down on the western coast there. Potential to get in a boat and try and get a little bit further forwards. Swinging around that south headland with the circle on the south.
Yeah, been spotted a few times now by these rotations. I think that people are getting pretty coy to these rotations in the boat so far, especially if the teams are watching back the map feed from yesterday, seeing Unicorns of Love get pulled apart by Big as they rotated on that side of the map, came up behind them, and they just weren't ready for it whatsoever, not prepared. Take a look at some of these teams so far. SHOCKWAVE off on that western side, a position that RUTHLESS often takes up. And Team Doom towards the south of it, just on that western side of Quarry 2. So teams like TJB 4 Romanian men most likely going to come into conflict with one another, but we'll also have to be aware that there are teams across the way that will be able to take shots at them.
Oof. Shutting down a player for 4 Romanian men for TJB. This is on the north peak, I believe. No, sorry, it's on the east side of Quarry. 4 Romanian men will be able to get these reses on board. Team Doom looking out this way as well. TJB want the crash here. GK First and Zittel into the compound, but GK First takes a lot of damage there. Killer re-knocked again. Andre low runner, not in the best of shape. We'll be looking for that first aid, and Team Doom are looking for anything they can see in the meantime. Heals coming through from the TJB players as well. They won on the previous Sanhok. They're looking to put some power in here.
Bit more tricky though, moving on this side of the map. You know, you're going to be shifting down towards cave side, and you have 4 Romanian men in front of you with Arabian Champions and Death Machine towards the north, both rotating very close to one another.
4 Romanian men losing Killer, not the best for them. They piece out of that. You'll be moving forward with 3. TJB taking the high ground now. Lynn still rocking the DBS and Mike Rosie for Xiao. So close range for these guys is going to be really quite impactful if they can get to that stage.
Yeah, at least this high ground does give them some sightlines over the cross side of the quarry, right? They're going to get able to get themselves some nice information gathering done. Na'Vi, again, have just stayed on this western side, and it's a smart move from them. It's one that they've had taught just with some pretty harsh lessons from moving on through that western side towards the east and getting caught by teams that have moved sooner than them. I think when you take that northwest mountain, even if you have players that are already set up down towards the Confluence compound, doesn't really matter so much because there will always be teams that can rotate in sooner as you. And I think for a lot of teams, they started to see that and expect that from Na'Vi and have punished it because it's something that shouldn't necessarily be able to take advantage of as Na'Vi. And now they do have to play a little bit more edge, a little bit more quiet. And that is okay as long as they're not getting too greedy on some of these peaks because there are many teams around them.
Take-Aim Gaming still holding. Well, they hold out for longer. Unicorns of Love on the eastern side now, near VIRTUS.PRO. Seems to have seen these two teams come across one another fairly frequently in these last couple of games. VIRTUS.PRO just back them off, or rather, Unicorns back themselves off, going a little bit further west than Kampong.
Yeah, usual rotation there for Unicorns of Love, going back to basics, decide that heading down on the western side of Paradise Resort is just not working out for them. And you can see right now why exactly it doesn't work out for them, especially in this group and this lobby. There are so many teams that take residence over towards that south side of Paradise Resort over many of the compounds. So they are kind of eked into this position on the eastern side where they can't really take anything too advantageous, nothing that gives them a huge amount of information. And right now for Unicorns of Love, it's just a case of slowly making your way in, finding where some of these teams are playing, and a lot of this is coming off the back of just homework that they've done before. Quarry being the center though, John, now that is awkward.
That is not ideal. It's a very dangerous area. Obviously being in the quarry is pretty much a death sentence at this stage. Everybody will be looking your way. Teams will be hoping that it doesn't finish there because the first to make that move, more than likely, would really, really struggle. But either way, rotating around the quarry is equally as demanding and dangerous.
It's not a position you want to find yourself in. And again, another case where, even our Erangel earlier today, we had so much water in it. Now you've got a similar situation where you don't want to head down towards the swamp inside of quarry. So you're having about 20% of the circle just kind of taken up here. Game Lord, take bullets from Pioneer, will be sent away. Now they've got to figure out another direction to head in. Big still trying to make their rotation. Eastern Stars have held on this bridge for a long, long time. Luckily, Beast is able to find one, and Mozero finishes up with a clean second.
Yeah, you don't expect to be finding two teams out there at this stage. Eastern Stars losing 2, but in the midst of it all, 4 Romanian men are taking on VP. Old Boy is already down and out. Tulika finds a flush. Yankee wants the burn. Andre will be forced out of the side cupboard. The 2 players from VP can go for the swing, and it'll be good. Finding Andre with MUERTE, the one to deal the final blow there. Rana on the outside, taken down. That's actually going to be TJB entering into that.
A disappointing engagement, though, for VP, regardless, losing 1 player on that where they had so much control over those compounds. Now down to 3 does really limit their presence within the circle. Unicorns are love slowly from that eastern side, start to just slip their way in and might be able to find some kind of position within the circle. Arabian champions look to take a fight with Game Lord, but taking casualties from behind from Pioneer.
Amo and Hamoni both down now, so only 2 players left on the hillside for ARB, and they are split up as well. Really unfortunate. We're there, though, with a chance to fend off 1 or 2 of these players around the side of the rock. Sees 1, goes out wide, gets a good spray onto Victor, but doesn't get the knock. Looks for a challenge onto another player, but Robs is a little bit more healthy. Narvalo moves in, and the rest of Game Lord flood on down. Another player from ARB dealt with.
ARB, just with 1 solo player remaining. That's all that's left here, but Pioneer spot that final player. Might be able to pick up the elimination point for the Troubles. He is on track, but doesn't quite find him. Black White, luckily, on an off angle, will spot the player and pick that one up. 3 eliminations now for Pioneer on this north side. Eastern Stars trying to send their way in as soon as possible. Big, on the other hand, down towards the Confluence compound. I don't think they really know where they've been going too much. Beast gets knocked in the vehicle. That must have been from the blue zone itself. He gets tumbled out.
Yeah, I think they tumbled out of the vehicle coming down the cliff on the northwestern island, potentially. We'll have to wait and see. Quarry is going to be shifted, not quite on towards again, but a hard southeast shift right to VP and TJB.
Remember, TJB has massive high ground to play around with here, and a lot of these teams on the western side were very pleased with their spot, in fact, because it gave them great sight lines across the way. TJB eliminated a lot of those by sending high, but now teams will have to play up towards them. And although it's not quite a mountain finish over towards that northwest island, it is something similar with TJB having to now look down, push teams back as they move into position. They will really have to keep putting in the work here.
Pioneer on the northwestern side of Quarry, quite spread out still on their long train with Havlik still out in the blue. We haven't really seen the Phase 3 performance from Pioneer that we've come to expect from them. From Phase 1 and from Phase 2, this team had really, especially in Phase 2, massive performances coming on through. Right now, they're set in 9th place. With this being their 12th game, there's potential for them to jump up, you know, maybe up to 6th, but this is not the sort of Pioneer that we've come to expect.
No, I think Pioneer's been unfortunately caught out a few times on some of their rotates, not able to get as much done as they would like. I think Pioneer thrives when they have position to play with and can hold on to it. I think some of their rotations have been cut off. Sometimes they're not able to get into a spot they'd like. And I think that Phase 3 has been dominated a lot of times by these hard shifts on the circle. So you can't really blame some of these teams for not stepping up in performance as much as others, especially when Pioneer likes to play that long game, like to play the statistical game where, you know, this is a position that's going to get us the most points. This is a position that is going to lead us towards that chicken dinner. The moment they're having to shift constantly into new spots around the circle to try and get anything done. Ultra spots out Black White and he jumps into the rock. Luckily, he's able to get out of the way. And these predictions are a bit wild, John.
Yeah, I mean, well, Unicorns of Love on the north side for Jason, playing on the east edge. Maxman on the south flank, wanting MUERTE to come on through, and James holding right in the middle. Calaris with the TJB prediction there. TJB right in that center compound of the next circle.
I think for TJB, I would agree with this prediction as well. I think Unicorns Love a little bit difficult to get head down from that north side. They will have to cross the road, which is rough. Will need some smokes to make that one happen. Pioneer taking casualties as well, but have made their way into Quarry, but they have further to run here, John. TJB, on the other hand, they hold a lot of the cards in their side of the field.
That is quite a lot to be playing with, and Shockwave are getting shut down out in the open. A crossfire established, putting the hurt down, and now Pioneer are under pressure from Team Doom. All 4 of Team Doom still going, by the way, here on the northwestern side, as Pioneer try and leave, but 2 of them are down. Izumitsu and Fash both now standing, the last 2 for the squad. With the blue zone enveloping them, it's unlikely that they're going to get back to it. Circle off the quarry, and again, TJB are in.
Yeah, Team Doom's taking a fight with a lot of different teams. TXT kind of peeked his head up towards that side of the map, but instantly get shut down because of it. RV down to 3 players.
Big might be actually moving into the circle now, Blank. Look at that. There's a duo on the south side, Beast and Swave. Mazzaro on the west of his current engagement does get spotted by Frosty, and Team Doom take him down. But the duo is there, and QODEX might have to deal with it.
Matic, knocked. Players can get past. Zero looking a little bit in the wrong direction, and Kitsune can't quite hit the shots, but now reveals himself. Frosty will get taken down, which is good.
Oh dear, Zero down as well. Nice answer here coming through from Na'Vi, but they're spotted out yet again. And it's the third party from QODEX. Metic and Meku almost immediately take it down. Now only the one player remains for Na'Vi. Kitsune going solo.
Yeah, for Kitsune, it's a rough game ahead of him. Unlikely he'll be able to push past the players of QODEX here. TJB still hold a strong high ground with this circle. VP with a decent compound down towards the southeast, but MUERTE slowly closing in here, John.
Horns of Love being spotted out by TJB. She backed off the roof side. Na'Vi eliminated. Northeast side proving to be really quite sticky for Unicorns. Rolkis down. His teammate healing up. Gonzo blooming the smokes. 3 players trapped behind cover out in the blue zone. Rolkis needs to make a fast push, but it's under pressure of gunfire. And Crypto's down on the front as well. Restov also falls, and only the one player now stands for Unicorns of Love, as they're going to have to go quite a way. TJB get the shift again.
Now it's really difficult for these teams. QODEX maybe has to think about making their way up towards TJB to threaten, to try and pull them off this position. But again, it's that high ground that we talked about, that we highlighted right towards the beginning of the game, that's just so rough to play around. Most of these teams will have to engage in fighting before they even find their way towards TJB. And now they're striking out as well.
They're pushing out, they're taking a little bit more control now. They know they have the high ground, they know they can exert this pressure, and they're doing it beautifully. TJB, they won the last Sanhok. Have they repaired something? Have they changed it up? Is it just going so much better for them today than we've seen from them ever?
I think that you could definitely argue that they look a lot stronger, they look more cohesive. However, I would say that on Sanhok so far, the circle has been very, very kind to them. MUERTE looks towards VP. There were some good grenades from VP towards MUERTE, but both teams are a little bit hampered at the moment. VP down to just the one player, holding out the rest of MUERTE.
TJB with one knock on side. Amodi, last player for Death Machine, near to take aim gaming. I think they're aware of this position, but he has no first aid. Someone certainly is. There were shots over to the ankle. I think Take Aim Gaming, no. But no nades to speak of. Amodi will just tick away to the blue if he stays behind this rock. But Take Aim Gaming, similarly under pressure. He knows they have to move as well, and takes that opportunity to take a fight. One player goes down. Amodi still in for the challenge as his teammate falls down, and he makes it into the circle. TJB will know that he's there, but he makes it even further.
TJB being very aggressive, takes the rooftop positions. One player goes down, looks to pick up Sittle. In the meantime, QODEX can get closer. And closer they get, the more easier it becomes for them to toss those grenades over towards TJB's position. But that high ground will prove very, very distasteful here for QODEX if they're not able to deal with it. Again, it's that uphill battle. And now TJB has to once again blast out towards that position. They find Vito.
Kemi wants more damage as well. He's been doing work from behind the tree, taking a quick little spray. Knows he has the time in zone 7 to go for it. This is a really... Okay, his backup. I thought he was on his own, but GK First and Lin are there as well. Victor behind the rock, facing off against 3 from TJB as they swing down the hill. Now they have high ground position and a sideswipe onto QODEX. They're playing aggressive. They're not taking any prisoners, but unfortunately, Zhao does fall. Out in the circle, Keme still an element to this fight, and TJB need to be worried. GK First eliminates that threat, but Lin has already fallen down. Moneyken in the grass. QODEX with 4 against 2 from TJB. A nade uphill from Moneyken, and the burn on the other side as well to watch for the peak. It's beautiful positioning, and Moneyken swings out wide. Vito falls, unfortunately, but GK First is traded off. Woodson moves on in, and PNL brings up the rear here. There is still threat from the back line. Moneyken takes down GK First. Sittle at the top of the hill now has it all to do for TJB. Good for 1. Is he good for 2? Woodson needs to try and take this challenge. But Woodson not good for it either. PNL now left solo as Zittel holds strong. A stalwart defense for TJB. They had a wild aggressive push. Amodi's up from the grass as well and takes down QODEX. It's a 1v1. There's players out in the zone. MUERTE are still healing blank. They never go down. And Zittel is there. Finds early damage onto Amodi. Finds the spray and he takes it down. TJB from up the top of the hill will swing strong. But MUERTE in second place. Every single time they're still there.
It's Striker this time around, but we cannot understate what an incredible game for Zittel. What the hell just happened?
Striker, he pulls it back from the blue. He's on the wall. He has the angle, and Zittel lets it slip. It was all done and dusted, but TJB have it stolen away.
That could have been the game that would have gone down in history for TJB. It looked like they were kind for the circles. It didn't matter because they played out those final moments perfectly. GK first, blast out his mind, even with Keme in the backside, taking so much damage over towards them. Zittel stands up really strong, but it's Striker that finds that singular, perfect singing moment to finish out the game for MUERTE with a first place on Sanhok. Goodness me.
You can never ignore those late game blue zone angles. I mean, Keme was such a thorn in the side, right, for all of that as well. There were knocks going across the way. I was checking the minimap. I think Keme actually found the last player from VP who was trying to heal out as well. It was so chaotic from the outside.
I just don't believe what I've even seen. I have not seen something like that happen since a long, long time ago with Team Secret taking shots on Sanhok and able to find the victory off the back of that one. But if anyone's to do it, it's MUERTE, right?
Absolutely. Well, what a crazy way to finish out this first half of Phase 3. We're going to head back over to Boris Bunsen Bean on the desk.
Well, the greatest part about that is, as I'm checking, I'm unmuted. No one understands that reference.
Oh.
So, good job. Maxman, how did you pull that off? I was for sure Klarus is going to win with
I got prediction right. I
TJB.
forgot. I was just watching it. I was completely off. I was like, just saw the play. I was actually impressed. But I forgot I predicted the MUERTE. So yes, the biker jacket stays on.
The most impressive part of this is that Max got 2 predictions correct today. He hasn't done that, I feel like, ever.
I think I've done in previous phases, but I'll take it. It's the first time in phase 2.
Klarus, your prediction of TJB looks so good.
All right, both of you.
had Keme ruin things from behind.
He's mad.
Doesn't matter. Shut up, both of you. Do you know how loud I was shouting at the screen whilst this was going on, by the way? Like, just lie down. You're alone. Like, just stay prone. Oh, my days. I was shouting a healer could still win this because it gets down to that 1v1 scenario, and I'm like, what? Why are you getting up in that moment? Stay, fall in,
on the slope,
please.
Yeah.
Oh, dear me. Oh.
The thing is, there's definitely a rule that's very important to keep in mind when you're playing Sanhok and you're in the finishing moments. Sure, healers in a lot of cases are not going to be an issue, but healers are always going to try and stay as close to the circle as possible to, in case this situation happens,
yes,
they have a chance to steal the win away. There's always going to be an angle. You always have to be careful. So as you said, he should have stayed prone, but the angle was just too good. It was on a slope, and then, I mean, there's one chance and he takes it.
Max, let's be honest. Do you feel like you deserve that victory? That prediction correct?
Hey, I'll take what I can, man. Okay, I don't get a lot of these, so do not take it away from me. I don't care.
I don't care about Max's prediction. MUERTE deserves the win. Like, regardless of Max's prediction, right? Like, the fact that, again, you put yourself in that position for these eventualities, for these concerns where if it is 2 alive on the side of TJB, you can't get this spray down unless they're right next to each other on the same angle, because you need to then confirm a knock or something like that. But the fact that it's a solo means that it's just an instant down, an instant elimination, and then it's possible. Putting yourself in that position as MUERTE is the smart thing. And I love that they did it, even if I'm really angry right now.
Even Keme from Mr. Stars was able to, like, not only buy some time for QODEX to go for the push and push down on the 2 players lower side of TJB, but he also gets a few knocks afterwards. So yeah, I mean, the healers really ruined it for TJB, and look like how the turntables after the whole season. Look at that.
Okay.
Also, credit to Hamodi, by the way, because he finishes off tag basically 1v3. Also is the pain in the side of QODEX as well. He put up a lot of eliminations for himself and his team.
He was prone. Did it? Was he? When I just watched that just back then?
He was on the slope, so if he was, like, he's still going to be spotted, yeah.
Okay, I'm not as angry. There's nothing.
You know
there's
what,
not much you
Klarus?
could have done.
Luckily for you, we have a quick little 30-second recap of what went down at the very end of the game here. So let's actually roll that beautiful game footage here and get an idea. Okay, that's a little too close to the screen there, Kalaris. But we can see here.
So
maybe
still
this is your
prone.
last 30 seconds.
He knows exactly the angle he's on. Moves around, sees him, which causes a problem, and goes prone again, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was, beforehand, a few seconds before that, he was laying down and he was high enough where he was not spotted. I think he just went a little bit too far forward and then he was in render distance and then he was spotted out, yeah.
I mean, the runaround gives him the information as to where he is at that point, right? Like, as much as, okay, so I came into, I've gone through a cycle of emotions here, Jason. I was angry. Now I'm not as angry because there are those moments for TJB there where you're like, you can't account for every single angle, I suppose, based on where that healer could be or where he could be.
He shot though, right?
He shot, yeah.
He did, yeah, he did shoot.
And then he healed, so he could have just ran away and just like hid.
No, he had to come this way. He had to come this way to be in the circle. That's the problem. Like he had to go towards MUERTE to be in the circle.
You know, let's
so
can we roll that again? Can we roll that again in like half speed?
Do we have the minimap?
Really break it down. Is that possible? I don't think we'll have the minimap in time, but maybe we'll have a quick little replay yet again. Because that, yeah, there's a lot to analyze in that situation, I guess. And obviously, if you're not in the actual situation yourself, it's hard to tell.
Minimap's here,
right?
Look.
He goes for a couple shots.
He's on the far side of the circle, and he has to come this way to then be in the circle. So he's feeling the pinch, as it were. The runaround causes a problem. And then the shots.
The fact also he was able to do a spray, then get the first aid, like the timing is so short. You can only put a few bullets before having to go back for the first aid. I mean, they're known for doing a heal strat, right? And they perfected it.
Once you commit to the shots, I don't think you can get the first aid off afterwards. It has to be then and there. You mean for the first shots? Never mind, sorry.
Yeah, he went for the first shot, then first aid, then shot again. So like the timing was very short on that, Impressive.
Well, the thing is, right, is like, I'm surprised, like with the second shots coming through, why didn't he just run away then? Because he wouldn't have been able to heal off in time. And he was already healed himself.
I know what you're saying. It's almost impossible, though, in that moment as TJB to say, okay, that's the case, right? I think.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, then that leads us into our MVP of the day. I think for me, Striker, just because of that alone, but it's probably not going to be Striker at the end of the day. I don't think we need to predict this one. I don't want Max to get another one correct because that would just be blasphemy and the whole world might collapse. So let's see, who was our MVP of day 3 of phase 3? Okay, effect still. Wow.
Okay, who can stop this guy? No.
16 on the day. That is ridiculous.
I mean, at this point, we're saying if anybody can contest with effect for the MVP of the whole tournament down the line, I'll be surprised, right?
I think Zerish is currently still the closest, so it's another player from MADBULLS. I mean, Crypto was there at some point. Unicorns of Love has not been super present recently, but Effect, no matter what you throw at him, like he's gonna make things work out. And yeah, you just trust in MADBULLS is a very good place to invest right now because they're just so consistent, constantly going uphill and winning those fights. So yeah, still our the CCT, the Avenger level threat, like everything. They're the full package right now. They're everything you could say.
Just ridiculous, honestly. I mean, he was already heads and shoulders beyond everyone when it came to eliminations, and then just continuing to just rampage through these lobbies. I mean, in fact, he's a CCT just by himself.
Yeah, I mean, could potentially take down an entire team on his lonesome, but I have the impression every aspect of the game he has like narrowed down to almost perfection. Like just when it comes to a macro of his team, he plays really well with his squad. The communication's on point. His utility is on point. Also, we saw him also catch up an entire game frame on Erangel. I think it was yesterday. When he takes fight, he can take 1v2s, 1v3s. Like, yeah, I mean, he's currently the best player in the lobby by far. That is the case.
I'm still dwelling on this last finish. I'm fascinated. I'm so fascinated by how that went down because it is the perfect lining up of scenarios for the healer to win. It's so sick.
Well, you know what? We're going to have an interview in a little bit with someone from MUERTE, so maybe we can talk about what went on in the comms and such. Let's take a look, though, at the results from the day here. Remember, we're going to be having a 4-day break, so I'm going to get you guys caught up on what all went down today. We did have MADBULLS start things off strong with a victory here on Miramar, but TJB almost getting double Sanhok win stay. That would have been huge, but either way, they still got 30 points this last match and a lot of points overall within the day.
Actually, I didn't even talk about the drop location of TJB. I would like them to stick to this drop location they found. They're going for actually a really nice split, like Lakawi, Kampong, very eastern coast finish. And there's not a lot of teams that go there. It's not a very popular position to drop onto. And it's offers decent rotations, not the best, of course, but it offers some decent rotation potential. So it worked out today, so I would like to see them potentially stick to it.
I will say fortunate to a degree in terms of the circles coming towards the compounds that they were residing in. That helps a lot. But still, getting a first and second, extremely respectable. I mean, they effectively got themselves almost probably like 50 points or something off of those 2 games alone from the amount of conversions that they got. Pushing them up to a 5th place is very respectable.
And really needed too, because again, they were a team on the cusp of not playing in our finals. But we can see the battle at the top, just a 3-point difference between MUERTE and MADBULLS. But our top 4 currently is looking all CIS. Navi as well at 135 points. But we did talk about Eastern Stars being, I guess, at least in this phase, the standout European or Western European team. But it seems like TJB have been able to take the reins. But again, it comes down to they still have 3 more days of the phase to play. So it's not like they can just rest here and be happy with the 5th place finish.
Yeah, and they really need it. They really need it too, I would say, Jason, because before this phase, they had a total of 16 points as the point lead before heading into the finals, right? And then you compare it to like PIONER 37, MADBULLS 35, VIRTUS.PRO 35. They need a really, really good phase here if they want to have a chance to have a good start off in the finals itself. So yeah, TJB, good time to step up, and we saw it last season, right? Constant stepping up improvement week after week after week before going into the finals. It's still going to be really tough for them, but there's definitely some improvements. You can't argue with that.
Improvements, that's all we can ask for here. We can see down the bottom of the list, though, ARB champions at 22, XTEAM at 33. But Kalaris, you know what? Maybe I can give you the opportunity to do this. We do have Flykey coming in from MUERTE for an interview. Would you like to actually do it? So you can just spew your thoughts all towards them.
No.
Or do you want me to do it?
You.
Or we can have Max do it.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Biker.
It comes off. Okay, I'll take it.
All right, well, let's bring him in. Swinging Flykey here from MUERTE. We can ask him about what all went down in that last game and, of course, have the event. So first of all, Flykey, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
Okay, good, and I can hear you. Perfect. All right, man. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us here on the show, but we've been just kind of watching that last match. We've been replaying the final moments in our head the whole time. What was going on in comms there at the very end?
This was a middle heart, I think.
Okay. I mean, Striker, he must have been having his blood pumping, trying to pull off that 1v1 while healing off as well. But let's maybe talk about MUERTE as a whole. You guys have come into this event and have been phenomenal, especially here in Phase 3. Do you guys think you're at your peak yet? Do you still think you have some room to improve?
Is it in live stream? That's the one question.
Yeah, no, we're live right now, man. We're doing this.
Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
So
I didn't understand.
You guys have been looking great. You guys have been looking fantastic the whole event. In Phase 3, you guys have been improving even more. Do you think you're at your like peak performance, or do you think you still have room to improve?
We did a lot of job from second phase to third phase, and this is a result.
Well, you can see the result. You guys have been playing out of your minds. When it comes to the CIS region, though, where would you guys rank yourself compared to all the other teams that have come into this event as well? Do you think you're the best CIS team?
I think we are not the best now, but one of the best. Another team's best too.
Okay, well, you guys have been at least playing the best so far. You're currently first in our overalls. I'm going to let you go, though. I'm going to let you guys relax because that must have been a very stressful last game. But thank you so much for joining me, Flykey. Appreciate it.
Okay, goodbye.
Ciao. All right, well, gentlemen, they don't think they're the best, but one of the best. And well, at the moment, they're being the best when it comes to CIS.
Yeah, I mean, so stone cold expression there because they're just tryharding the game, like they're just feeling good about themselves. But yeah, they're not going to be too scared, I think, at going into the finals itself. They know what competition they're going up against and know how to deal with them. And yeah, I mean, they've been consistent so far, and I think there's nothing that's going to change that. So yeah, MUERTE is still contesting for that top spot.
Yeah, and again, I mean, they're looking like a team that will be representing us in the regionals, but obviously they still have the rest here, Phase 3 to go, and they still, of course, have the finals. But Phase 3, we have a 4-day break until we jump back into it, but we'll have 3 days of nonstop action to determine which teams will be going to the finals, and unfortunately, which teams will just have to sit there and watch from home. We'll see you guys in 4 days here for the continuation of PMPL.